It's time to
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Crash Content, the show where we take turns picking our favorite media to share with each other. I'm ThatFriginGuy, and today I'm joined by JNES.
I draw part of
Kyrie.
greed, which allows me to draw 2 cards from my deck.
I didn't sleep at all last night, but I'm here.
Martin P. 73737373.
Karibo is pretty cute.
The son of Marowak.
My Marowak is in the other room, and she will be coming in once in a while to tell me how much I suck.
Put her on the show. V4 Extreme.
I'm here, I'm white, I have blue eyes. Let's do this.
WarMagic.
Ain't no coronavirus in the Shadow Realm, my dudes.
And Arcade Nova.
Hello. I like eggs.
I like eggs too.
Eggs. Yep, it is Easter.
Alright, gang. Today, the piece of content we'll be crashing into is Yu-Gi-Oh! The show, the game, the meme, the legend.
Yo. Down.
So who's watched this thing?
I
watched it. Oh, yeah.
No, JNES goes first.
I haven't watched it. Like, I haven't watched that much the original series. I only watched the original from VHS and DVDs I found at my local Blockbuster. I have more of a memory with Yu-Gi-Oh! GX because I watched the second and third season on Cartoon Network, I think, and Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D is like from the Sino Saga. That's all I really watched of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Gotta get your game on.
Yo, that third season, man. Some of the parts were scary for me, but I did enjoy it nevertheless.
Yeah, it was sometimes on Cartoon Network, but I never actually watched it by the series. It's just kind of on, and the monsters were cool.
Yep.
And I watched episode 4 through 7 of whatever the series was you recommended us. Hilarious shit. Besides that, I collected some of the cards because again, monsters, cool.
Cool. Yeah.
In school, I really, really liked Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe 4th grade or so. I got into it. I watched it. It's probably the first show that I would actually watch, get up and specifically plan and schedule to watch because it aired on Saturdays, I think. Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Memories from that. At my school, I was the kid who everyone had the cards, but nobody knew the actual rules and just played the show. But then I found I actually got the rule book, and I was the kid who told everybody, rule sharked everybody and got everyone playing by the rules. Although I never actually got into tournaments or anything for it, so I there's a gap there. But it was definitely a big part of 4th, 5th, 6th grade for me.
I too also watched it on Kids WB. Kids WB was my childhood, and it was the best time of my life. I remember the first Yu-Gi-Oh card I ever even saw was the Great White card from one of the structure decks or whatever. And ever since then, I was never so into Yu-Gi-Oh that I would talk about it to a huge degree, but I did watch the show up until the end of the Battle City tournament, and I know how to play the game, but I do not do much more. But I do watch the show. The show was a thing I watched, so that's all of my nostalgia.
So I never watched the show very much. The card game was popular, I think especially around 4th and 5th grade. And I didn't have any cards when it was at the peak popularity. I didn't have my own deck, so I got one later when it was kind of fading and did play it a little bit. As for the show, I do remember I had a friend in high school who was very amused by, I think this was Yu-Gi-Oh! One of the characters in the English dub who he was a foreigner in the show, so he was from America, and he's constantly saying, back in America. Is that Yu-Gi-Oh? Do I have that right? Yeah.
Bandit Keith.
So that's one amusing thing I know about Yu-Gi-Oh! But the show, this is going to be a lot of new knowledge bombs for me, I think.
guess it's my turn. So I was very, very much into the show. I remember my parents bought me like a DVD with like a bunch of episodes on, and it was over. I just watched those episodes like on repeat for a while. Eventually someone gave me like the Seto Kaiba like starter deck. And I started playing the card game at a very young age. I was like 6 or something. Yu-Gi-Oh taught me how to read better because no one else could read the tiny ass like little effect monsters.
That's cool.
Only my child eyes could see the very small letters, so I had to learn a lot of big words to be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh. I was also kind of the. It started out, no one knew the rules, of course, but I eventually was able to read the rule book that was very, very convoluted for a small child. Read the manga for a while on Shonen Jump when that was still around, when they still had the physical books. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh's been and then it transitioned into Magic the Gathering, but for a while it was all Yu-Gi-Oh all the time.
So would say that Yu-Gi-Oh is probably like the first like anime that I ever watched that I recognized as anime, or at the very least like I knew it was different somehow. Like I don't know how I knew, but like somehow I recognized the fact that like, because I was young, I was like 3 or 4 probably. Wow. Zoomer alert. When like I started watching like Yu-Gi-Oh, and I recall like knowing somehow that Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon were like Chinese cartoons or something. But yeah, so you know, I watched the Yu-Gi-Oh. I had some cards. I never played like the TCG or anything. I just thought they looked fucking cool, so I wanted to own them. I also had like some like figures and stuff, whatever. But then like by like middle school or something, I had a bunch of friends who would like go to tournaments and stuff, and I was like, lol, cringe.
About that.
Yeah, for me, I was just I was at the point where I was like, oh yeah, that thing I liked as a kid is lame, but no, Yu-Gi-Oh is fucking sick, dude. Yeah, and then I have one other anecdote, and it's that so I was in Boston a couple months ago for PAX
Wait,
East,
you were?
and when I was there, I was.
Oh,
yeah.
Shame. You could have made up.
The more you know. But anyway, yeah, so I at one point when I was like hopping on a train or whatever, there was this dude just like sitting here and at the like bus stop or whatever, the fucking train stop, and he's like listening to some song, and this dude's in his like late 20s probably, and he's like listening to some shit, and I'm like, hey man, that's like pretty cool, what are you listening to? And then he just starts like rambling to me about like how this dude is like cracked out or something. I don't know what he's on, or if he just has like eternal brain damage, but like he's like, oh yeah man, like I used to play this game with my like grandmother, and he's like, we made up this game. He thought he like made up Yu-Gi-Oh. And he was like listening. He was like, I didn't realize it was the Yu-Gi-Oh theme. Like, and he was like, oh dude, yeah, you got to check this out. Like this shit it like is virtual reality. And like he was like, I don't know, it was.
Oh no.
This dude was straight fucked. And he just started showing me the fucking Yu-Gi-Oh song.
AI.
You said that was on public transit? Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah.
That'll happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you never know who you'll meet up.
Some woke characters out there.
They're on another plane of reality.
Just ready to share knowledge about obscure things.
So I am a little bit curious. A couple of you said you had the show on VHS or DVD. What duels were on those? Just curious.
I think like the furthest duel I watched in the anime was the one where Yami dueled the mime. It was the introduction of Slifer, the executive producer.
Oh, the one where he gets his first god card. That was a legendary episode.
Yeah, the animation was super solid, and it's really showed the scale of how big the god cards are.
Yeah, this thing was like the size of the city.
Yeah, and it was frightening.
I had like the
And he
first few
stole it
VHS
on a
tapes.
technicality.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
the rules are really that
that's some-
broken.
Yeah, that's some real Kino shit. Like when you manipulate the rules of the game to win. It's like I didn't win with my monsters or my magic or trap cards. I just made you fucking like be a total idiot and give up.
Yeah, because his opponent has the god card, right? And he's got this infinite combo set up where he can just keep drawing cards, and the more cards are in his hand, the more attack
I
it
know
has.
exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
So he plays into it and makes his opponent draw so many cards he runs out of his deck and loses.
Deckouts were actually
Legendary.
common in Pokemon. I went to tournaments for Pokemon for a while. Well, not super common, but you could burn through your deck really fast, and sometimes like aggressive decks would use enough cards to where it would become a win condition like late in the game.
Yeah, I was shocked that they were going to bring that up in the show.
Well,
I don't. It's the first mention of it ever.
I don't think it's common in Yu-Gi-Oh! From what I've heard. Like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a game that ends in like 2 turns from what I've seen.
Yeah, these days.
Yu-Gi-Oh's very unbalanced.
Oh, I'll tell you all about that. But
I'm looking forward to it.
First and foremost, let's talk about the show, or I guess go even further back to the manga. Any of you guys ever go and look for the manga at the bookstore and pick up Volume 1 and notice, wait a minute, this has nothing to do with card games?
Yeah.
Yep,
No.
I remember reading Volume 1 and thinking that same thing.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Had a bit of a evolution, sort of like Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z, or Naruto to Naruto Shippuden. So the first, maybe like 10 or 12 volumes of the manga were had nothing really to do with this card game. It was just the main character, Yugi, finds an ancient Egyptian puzzle that his excavationist explorer grandpa gave him. He puts it together and gets possessed by a ancient Egyptian pharaoh's spirit. One who's...
Is that what's covered in the like season?
Yeah, this is season 0.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
I just
want
wanna say-
I found it out by the Yu-Gi-Oh!
The-
Bridge series.
Like going back to watch the TV episodes, I had like no idea any of this was connected to ancient Egypt at all. Like I
Really?
completely
Yeah,
missed
sometimes they
this
leave out the
plot
little
point
like
somehow.
intro at the beginning.
I guess I never even watched the full intro, just the Yu-Gi-Oh! But
They get more into it as the show goes on. Like season 5, they just straight up travel back in time.
yeah, I just found this out yesterday,
Yeah,
and it was
that's
crazy.
all I know about.
But except it's not really time travel. But like, yeah. But it just starts out. Kid gets ancient relic. It's a puzzle. He puts it together. He becomes possessed, and this spirit that lives in the puzzle is just like a. Like he's good at games.
The
That's
literal
his thing. Like he
king
can
of
win
games.
any game. Period. And if he beats you, he will give you some sort of ironic punishment with his shadow magic.
Yes.
And they use this to solve just various issues at school every day. For example, there was one episode where there was one volume. There was like a TV news guy who was just like perving on one of Yugi's friends, and so Yugi transforms into the Pharaoh and challenges him to a game. And he's like, "Oh, okay, sure. What game are we gonna play?" And he's just like, "We're just gonna roll a 6-sided dice and see who gets a bigger number." And the TV producer guy's like, okay." So he rolls the dice. TV producer guy gets a 6, right?
Oh no.
So would
gets
you
a
like to know
7.
what happens next?
Does he split the die in half?
Yes! He throws it, bouncing it off the guy's forehead. It splits in half, and he rolls a 7.
Impossible.
And then he uses his shadow magic to turn the guy blind.
Oh,
What the
That's
fuck?
not what I thought.
That's
from what
how
you
like
said a
every
minute
single
ago.
chapter of the original manga. It's hardcore.
That's the
Like,
true heart of the cards.
like-
right
I mean, I
there.
guess this
Yeah,
is a high
like,
school, but
using
still,
shadow
like,
magic.
like he sets a guy on fire one and like burns him alive one time. Like a guy was like robbing a store at gunpoint. There was one guy who was like bullying Yugi, so he explodes him with nitroglycerin.
What the fuck?
They play. Oh my god! So they play
It's great.
they play like air hockey, right? Except the table is like a hot griddle. The puck is a block of ice, and there's a little test tube vial of nitroglycerin. So whatever side the puck is on when the ice melts, you explode.
No wonder this didn't make it on TV.
This really
it did.
speaks volumes
It did,
to how
but
the
it's only,
show
it was
is,
only
like,
in Japan by a different studio. Like, they did a couple episodes, and even then they had to tone it down a bit.
In the show, aren't they always like
About-
they're dueling above some thing where they're on a clock where the duel arena is like descending into lava or something, and if you don't
Sometimes
win in
this
time,
is,
you
this is
die.
usually
like
a
that.
gimmick.
Where the Shadow Realm disc will touch them, or
Yeah, so every mention of the Shadow Realm you ever see, or like the purpley mist and stuff in the show, that's not part of the show. That's exclusively a for kids.
kids.
it was actually just like
Yep.
they'll kill you or
Localization
something.
thing.
Oh, you'll die.
Yeah, like there was one duel everyone knows, the one where there's the little spinning discs, and if they touch you, they
Yep.
send your soul to the Shadow Realm. In the show, no, they were just like bolted to the floor, and when your life points hit 0, it slices your ankles off
Okay, yeah.
because they're just saw blades.
That's
That I
Yeah,
have heard
exactly.
about. I knew
I
they
would
like
say.
way toned it down, and the Shadow Realm was like something they came up with, so they didn't have to say they were killing people and whatnot. I did hear about that. So
Yeah, but by the same token, the idea of your soul being forever trapped in a realm of darkness is pretty scary.
pretty fucked. Pretty
Yeah,
fucked.
like that's not really
Yeah, but
that
it's
much
also,
better if
like,
you think about
far more mystical.
Yeah.
It's not literally getting your fucking ankles cut off by like spinning
it. By a
blades.
psychotic clown man.
It's not a saw.
It definitely had a
death
Saw
game.
feel, like watching it again.
Yep.
Like
Rip you off the
Oh, yeah, a
I
lot of
don't
times
even know
it
what the
did.
fuck you guys are talking. I'm just going off of what you said, but yeah.
Yeah, like there's one where they're on the top of a big skyscraper and it's got like a glass roof to it, and they just set up like explosives where when you lose, it detonates the ceiling and you fall through and die. But they're like, oh, well, there's a pit of Shadow Realm underneath us, so you'll just fall into that. Versus just falling down a skyscraper. Oh, I wish they'd go back and do it again, but just keep it violent. So anyway, season 0 was just them goofing around. He would randomly transform into his ancient Egyptian alter ego, who it turns out they look the same because Yugi is a reincarnation of that same pharaoh.
Wait. Hold
That's
on,
the
one
reason
sec.
he
Yeah.
looks pretty much the same, is because
Is he like transforming, or is he just taking over Yugi's physical body?
a little of, like, technically he is transforming, but because he's a literal reincarnation, like, they look exactly the same.
No,
Okay,
it's more like
Just one's a bit
it's
older.
More like their bodies just switch because one body would go into the puzzle and the other body would go out in real life, and they would just switch.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
That's what I
Okay,
remember.
I was
from.
very confused as to why
His friends
like,
are just really stupid that they
Yugi
don't
just
pick up right away that it's
becomes-
happening.
Why are you suddenly like a foot taller?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, never mind. Card games. are
and
happening.
yeah,
Yeah, they're too busy watching the card game to notice their friend just randomly getting bigger.
and it's funny also because like his voice gets like deeper, but he still has like the high pitched voice like in his head.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll be like clashing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you're
they'll be
right.
talking to
Shows.
each other. And they do clash sometimes because there's
Yeah.
one other note I want to make. You know how I said he's like, the whole point of the spirit of the puzzle is that he can win any game?
Yep.
There's a couple times in the show it comes up where, like, he would have to be willing to, like, kill someone to win, and he's totally gonna do it.
Yeah.
And Kid Yugi
Oh,
has to,
yeah.
like, step in and stop him, and he has, like, a PTSD, like, trauma thing, where he's like, oh god, I was about to kill this person over a card game.
Well, the thing is, like the Yugi in battle, like looks comparable to I don't even know if that's a word, but to like his friends or whatever. But like, and then you take him out of that, and he's just like 2 foot tall, and he looks like a fucking bab compared to like the other people. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, well, the first volume of
know
the manga is
why.
just like, oh, he's a dweeb and gets picked on.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's just like a shonen thing, so like he can grow eventually, so that there's that like period.
And he,
Yeah, I
like, he
heard he
does
gets
look the
confident
same
at
through
the
the
end.
whole series, but he becomes it, like,
Oh, does he look like a baby the whole fucking
yeah, none of the
time?
characters ever changed. Maybe they get different outfits, but
I
anyhow.
don't think I don't think I was ever really clear on the whole body switching. There's actually 2 Yugis thing. So hearing you explain that, like, this makes so much more sense now. The way his character
Yeah, it's-
design changes.
it's
and
more
stuff.
like, there's,
I don't even think I realized that as a kid.
yeah, it's like there's his normal body and there's the puzzle, and there's one soul apiece, and they can exchange. And when the Pharaoh's in his body, he gets a little bit taller and looks a little bit older, and that's really all that's happening.
I mean, there's a couple episodes where, like, Yugi gets, like, trapped in the puzzle for a bit.
Yeah, every once in a while, like, weird ancient Egyptian magic stuff happens, and, like, to explore the inside of his mind, it's just like a weird, like, MC Escher upside down sideways maze with like staircases and doors and stuff, like as the representation of the inside, like mystical realm thing. That doesn't happen a lot, but
Happens like twice.
yeah, that they have to go and the pharaoh is, I can't transform. Where is he? So they have to go into the puzzle and find him.
So if the Shadow Realm was entirely in the show, I'm trying to think. Like I remember, like there was like the Battle City when they're on the top of like the blimp thing, and then like My Valentine. What was like what happened to her in like the Japanese version?
Was that the one where she get like stuck in the hourglass and nearly died?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of villains in the show who have, he's got the puzzle, right? There's a couple of villains who have exactly the same thing, but like the spirit inside is a bit more evil. Mm-hmm. Basically, Yugi's is kind of evil, but
yeah, I remember there was like Bakura, and then there was
like really evil. So they're just using ancient Egyptian magic to like imprison their souls or whatever.
Okay, and so they kind of used that to inspire a way to explain away the death traps that were earlier that were more physical.
Yeah, a lot of it was just like, oh yeah, we're not damaging you, but we're damaging your soul, and like the more life points that you lose, we're erasing your memories of your friends one by one until eventually you're just a vegetable.
In a way, that's kind of good localization. Like it's like creative freedom censorship that's actually retroactively not that bad. I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, like it's still like just as dangerous for the main characters. It's just they're able to tone it down a bit. But it's still pretty violent, and it's still pretty messed up sometimes. Like all the stuff with like the virtual world. Oh man, did any of you guys see that arc?
Yeah, the SAO arc.
I think.
Yeah.
I feel like we're kind of like jumping around random places.
Okay, yeah. Let's go back to focus a little bit. So there was Season 0, which involved no card games.
I think I'll just say one thing. Like if you want to like bring up some terms, like maybe if you want to talk about like what the Millennium items are or such and such like that, so we don't have to talk about it again.
Going way back, ancient Egypt, there were a bunch of ancient Egyptian
terminology. Down, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so there were 7 Millennium items that were made by ancient Egyptian wizards 5,000 years ago, and each of them has a special power, and they get distributed among the various characters in the show, some major, some minor. Yugi gets the Millennium Puzzle, and its power is to let him transform into the Pharaoh, who is 100% able to win any game presented to him.
No, isn't the quirk of the puzzle is that it contains a soul, and that it can contain a soul? Isn't that like its magical quirk?
It's the best at it. There's a couple others that do too, like the ring and the rod.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, never mind.
But that it was specifically made for that, whereas it was just like a byproduct on those two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Also to note, the card game originated in ancient Egypt.
Yes, it did.
They literally summoned the monsters from stone tablets. And somehow that influenced the future when Kaiba's like, I'm making the card game.
You mean
so what happened is all these ancient Egyptian wizards were like really battling with real monsters and real spells. And they'd store their monsters in like carved stone tablets. And they battled, they made the items, and making the items ended the war with the monsters, and they sealed them away forever. Until this dude named Maximilian Pegasus shows up. He's like an American billionaire.
Like 3,000 years later, yeah.
Yeah, like in modern day, like maybe 20 years before the events of the show. He discovers all of these tablets, and he's like, oh wow, this was like real magic with real Egyptians and monsters and all this stuff. So he plucks out one of his own eyeballs and replaces it with the Millennium Eye, which gives him the ability to read minds. That's that one's power. He could read minds, and one of his eyeballs has been replaced with that. And he takes these tablets and he makes a trading card game out of them, known in the show as Duel Monsters. And so he's the creator of the game, and he also invents he creates a game. He makes $1 billion. Then he partners with Kaiba Corp, Seto Kaiba's company, because Kaiba invents the hologram technology that makes the monsters look real. And he becomes a billionaire off of that too. So there's already 2 billionaires in the show that are like antagonists for the main crew.
Yeah, and they're both like the strongest players in the game.
Yeah, the 2 of them are the 2 best in the game. But no one's ever dueled Pegasus before, and seeing as how he made the game, he can make whatever cards he wants, including some stupid bullshit.
Yeah.
which he does.
Yeah.
That dude's fucking
Oh my,
cool.
well, he's interesting.
Did he do nothing wrong?
Let's say that for sure.
I would say no, yeah, but
Pegasus did nothing wrong? Question mark.
however, the reason Pegasus becomes a villain for the show is that his wife died, and Pegasus gets it in his mind that if he can collect all 7 Millennium items, he can bring her back to life.
Okay, so he did.
Which he probably could with all that ancient Egyptian magic contained with all 7 of them together. Like, you could do anything if you've got them all, probably. But, anyhow, so that's, like, sort of the setup, and, like, oh, this trading card game is a big international phenomenon in the show, because you play and, like, holograms come out of the real monsters. It's so cool. Ooh. So, yeah, and that's why it's, like, the most popular game in the world in the show.
Dual discs, sick.
That doesn't happen until Season 2.
But also,
That's,
That.
Season 1, they have to go to these, like, big, like
Arenas.
yeah, these
basically.
big arenas that have hologram projectors on the sides, and
yeah. In the
They
whole,
just
like,
have-
battle tournament island.
yeah, that was the first
Yeah,
arc.
Duelist Kingdom.
They also like in the show they played by different rules in that season. That was
Oh, they,
Yeah,
they,
that
they
was-
cheat
Yeah, that
all the
was odd.
time. They change
Well,
the
they-
rules
So
all the time.
The show
Yeah.
is based on Season 2 and beyond. However, there are explanations for... I have meticulously studied Season 1, and I think I know the changes to the rules they made that make it all make sense. Like, the weird numbers come from... the field bonuses are, like, specifically 30%, which is
Yeah,
why you get weird
it was
numbers
really
sometimes.
weird.
And
there's no sacrificing, no tributes for summoning in that.
Oh, no.
Nope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was... In universe, they explained
I
this
knew
is
this-
in Season 2 when Kaiba throws his own tournament. He changes all the rules, and those are the new rules of the game. Because Pegasus is, depending on whether you're reading the manga or the anime, he's either dead or retired.
I don't understand why Kaiba would make himself have to sacrifice things for his blue eyes though. Like that was like he had a normal big 3,000 beat stick, and he changes the rules that disadvantages him playing it.
Because he's got a bunch of cards that let him play it for free.
He has his own
yeah.
tribal deck with blue eyes that he
Yeah,
made
he's got
himself,
stuff like,
'cause he
oh, I
made
can
the
just, like,
cards.
I can just ritual summon this small Blue Eyes Dragon. That lets me tribute it to immediately summon one straight from my deck.
Get
like,
Blue Eyes
he has
Dragon
workarounds.
Rider.
Guys.
and
Yeah,
Dungeon
like stuff like
Summon.
that.
Did you all have like an autism like mega Yu-Gi-Oh friend? Well, maybe you.
I
were
was
the
probably
autistic
the
mega Yu-Gi-Oh
more,
friend.
but I wasn't
But-
like. I mean, I don't think I was like crazy, but I was the more like super into it. Like
I
liked blue eyes.
I knew this kid. I knew this kid who literally, was like, okay, literally the most autistic kid I've ever met, which is fine. He's actually pretty based. He used to like he made his own dual disc and he would like wear it around, and the fucking whatever the pyramid thing is called.
The
necklace.
puzzle.
The Millennium Puzzle.
Yeah, he would like wear those around and just like be Yugi
He
like
made
all the
his own.
time.
That's pretty
Based.
sick,
Yeah, he's his own cosplay.
Pretty fucking based.
I mean, you can buy a dual disc. They make them.
One of my friends had a couple of those. I forgot to mention that during my anecdote in the beginning, but they were fucking sick.
Yeah, there were a lot of those
Yeah.
around my school. I never had one though.
I had one.
Oh, by the way, this kid was in like high school.
They're-
Just-
they're
Yeah,
really
it's
hard.
even cooler, man.
It's really hard to
Yeah.
actually play the game in real life with the dual disc.
To be fair, there's one thing I've learned, and that's if you ever want to play cards outside, the wind is a problem. Like, your stuff just goes
Oh,
flying
yeah.
everywhere.
And
So
don't forget
that
the
would
dirt.
legitimately be useful, but you couldn't see what each other's playing from 20 feet away.
Did you ever get dirty cards from just like playing in the mulch, and then like the side of a deck is just brown because your kid's playing in the mulch?
No, man, sleeves, dude, sleeves.
Oh,
Oh,
no!
man.
See, I mean, this is like way before sleeves. Like we weren't that.
Martin
advanced.
came from the mud, y'all. it was rough.
I mean, no, I'm like the only one in the school that even knew the rules. Do you think anyone else in the school even would know about sleeves? It's like there's only one kid that knows the rules.
Yeah.
No, we weren't that.
I just happen to
advanced.
have a lot of card shops near me, so.
Yeah, no, I didn't use sleeves either.
I'm interested if you know anything about like the production of the cards and like the rights of it, because specifically,
Yeah, it started
like,
as Upper Deck.
I find it really like interesting that like Konami has anything to do with this.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they got their hands on the right. Maybe they had the rights to like merchandise the toys or something, and then it used to be
Konami
Upper
was
Deck
cool
who
back
ran the card game and produced the cards, and then they when I guess somehow they lost the rights and it just defaulted to Konami because they were probably making like the toys or maybe like the video game adaptations of there's all those like Game Boy games of it.
Yep.
And none of them followed the rules either.
So Konami didn't create Yu-Gi-Oh?
No, it was
Or
it was originally made by Upper Deck Entertainment, who does like a lot of like cheap card like
White
like
shorts.
the Digimon card game or the One Piece card game, stuff like that.
Yeah, but then Yu-Gi-Oh got big, and I assume.
Yeah, then that
Konami
got
just wanted
big
to
because
get
it was an
their hands on
actual
it.
show about playing cards. So it got big in Japan. The rights got transferred over to Konami, and they still have it to this day, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Oh, also
you gotta,
interesting.
talk about
Oh.
how the rules of the cards changed from. You're gonna get into how the rules of the card game changed from anime.
Oh
to
my
anime
gosh,
or-
I don't even want to get started on that. For the longest time, it really was exactly the same as the Battle City arc, just you had 8,000 points instead of 4,000.
I mean, we're really here we're mostly here just to talk about the show, because if we talked about the whole franchise, we'd be here all day.
I got all day. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I don't want to talk
I
about
got
the
all
whole.
day too.
I just want to talk about the Yu-Gi-Oh, like the Yugi anime.
So on that, I have a question
let's get
about
into that.
Yes.
the last thing or a minute ago. You were talking about the holograms, right?
Yeah.
So clear something up for me about this show. Are they literally summoning monsters or nah?
It depends on if ancient Egyptian magic gets involved. Occasionally, yes, they're for real monsters. But for
Does
the earlier
everyone
seasons,
know?
No.
Yeah, can
Does
the-
everyone know, or can
okay,
people
so
like
this-
not tell the
audience
difference
doesn't
between
know.
the holograms?
Oh, the holograms, they're literally just holograms. Like, they can't touch you, they can't hurt you. It's a hologram, just like you'd see, like Tupac. But,
But if a monster's in front of me, I know if it's real or if it's a hologram. The holograms aren't that real.
they're pretty real.
can spook
I
you.
think occasionally, yeah, they're pretty scary. That's why it's
But
so popular. and
Do the
'cause
people
they
in the
look
show
real.
always know? That's my main question.
Yeah, like,
if it's
is there
real or not.
any point where there's a duel going on where it is real monsters, but
Both
nobody
players are
actually
in on
knows?
it? Yeah.
Then someone's like, I'm using Egyptian magic, and we're gonna be doing some real monsters right here.
Yeah.
Are there
anytime
like
it's
spectators that may or may not know?
oh, well, it's only the two people playing who can ever
Okay,
get hurt.
okay.
So,
All right, cool.
like, part of the thing with using ancient Egyptian magic is like there's a contract on like the game where like whatever punishment is being given out like follows specific rules. So if you're not involved in the game, you're not involved with that. Like, it's not going to just randomly jump out and attack you.
Yeah, but I think
Not even if you told it to.
I mean,
if you summoned it.
Well,
No,
I think
okay.
like the magic only works if you like have agreed on the rules of the game beforehand.
Right. I gotcha. Okay.
So when my dueled Merrick, did she know? Or is that like
We'll
the
get
discrepancy between like the
Yep.
I think that was one of those like she found out pretty quick. Because every once in a while, one of Yugi's various friends gets kind of pulled into this like, oh, the fate of the world crap.
Yeah, because I
So-
remember like she was just like some of these characters are just like they play the card game. They don't know about any of the magic bullshit, and then like somehow they get tied into it, and then
Yeah, it's like despite everything he goes through, Seto until like the final 5 episodes refuses to believe that any of this magic nonsense is real.
Yeah, and
he's
he
just
did-
not having it.
he's like
Oh, it's just tricks. I don't know how you're doing it, but this isn't real. Like,
is that,
they have to
is that part
literally
of the
take him-
canon, or is that just the English version? That's what I'm curious.
I'm not sure. Like, I know in the show they have to literally drag him to ancient Egypt for him to believe in the magic. Or at least in
I
the
love how
dub.
just
The
absurd
sub might be like
everything
that as well.
is.
He's a very, like, rational businessman type guy who, like, he cares as much about running his company as he does about, like, playing this card game. Ultimately, it's just a hobby for him, but he hates being beaten, so...
I found it funny, like, okay, so, like, the first or second episode or something, they're like, yes, I have the rarest card in all of the world or whatever, and there's only 1 in 4
Yeah,
cards, the
yeah.
Blue Eyes White Dragon, and then so you see the Yugi Pa has, like, the 1 card, and then and then all of a sudden, fucking Yugi and Kaiba are duking it out or whatever. He has the fucking other 3
because he's rich and he bought them.
Oh, you can just...
He's filthy
It's
rich.
just a card game.
Yep.
Like, he just has $1 million, so he just bought them.
Just like in like
But
real
that's
card
still
games,
like
you
that's
just buy
absurd,
singles.
right?
Yeah. Like, if you have the rarest card in this game, but someone offers you, like, $50,000 for it, you're going to say no?
Just buy all of the Black Lotuses in the world.
I mean, if you were a billionaire...
Because you're
you
a billionaire.
could.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the joke. That's the equivalent. It would be like that.
If Jeff Bezos was into Yu-Gi-Oh, he would have all the Blue Eyes White Dragons he wanted.
Exactly. That's what's going on here, is he just, like, bullied everyone. He's like, yeah, I'll just throw money at this until I get them all. Except for, that's the reason he duels Yugi's grandpa and kicks his ass, is because he's just really salty that he won't sell him the final 4th one. Even though he couldn't play it.
So
Somehow the grandpa got injured from that.
we got My
Yeah.
Valentine and Seto Kaiba fan art. That's interesting. That's a weird
Oh
combo.
yeah, imagine there would be a lot of fan art for Seto Kaiba.
But that's just a weird combo. That those characters don't fit
See-
together at all.
Mai wants money. Kaiba has money.
Yeah, but the other I
no.
don't see the other way. Like, what is he doesn't give a shit about her is the thing. That's the
Of course
You
not.
know, Kaiba probably identifies as a Blue Eyes White Dragon. So
He pretty much... have you seen the movies? He built a fighter jet that looks like one.
yes.
And he
I've
flies
seen
it around.
he's very into the Blue Eyes White
Blue
Dragon.
Eyes
by-
Shining Dragon. That was a cool card.
Like, season 4.5, he literally builds a theme park based around the card.
Yep, I would
Which he
imagine that.
debatably doesn't even own the rights to, because he doesn't produce the card game, he just makes the hologram technology.
So
So,
Seto
I don't know what the deal is
Kaiba,
there.
He's a billionaire and he made the holograms for the card game.
that's how he became a billionaire.
Isn't he
Sounds
like
like
a
he's heavily
teenager?
Well, technically, he inherited a weapons manufacturing company from his adopted
Yeah, but
father,
we'll get into that soon.
and then he turned into a
okay.
card game company.
Okay. Go on.
So should we
Okay.
go
Go on.
through?
Yes,
what-
let's rewind
the
a bit.
arcs a little bit.
We were still in
wait,
Duelist
wait.
Kingdom.
Yeah, the very brief synopsis. So the cast of characters. You've got Seto Kaiba, the millionaire, who's salty because he lost for the first time ever to Yugi in the first episode.
Yep.
You've got Pegasus, who created the card game, and he's looking for all the Millennium items. There's Yugi, our main character. He has the puzzle, and he has some friends from school who just kind of hang out with him. Joey, who's sort of our, like, other duelist guy. Taya and Tristan, who are just tag-alongs, and they almost never do anything.
Yeah, they're just the support, morale
And,
cheerleaders of the group.
Bakura, who's, like, the weird kid who always sits in the back of the room
He's
and
Shadow
doesn't
the
talk to
Hedgehog.
anybody. Like, he's a friendly guy, except for the fact that he has the Millennium Ring, which its like sort of power is that it's got little dangly. It looks sort of like a dream catcher, and it's got little dangly things on it. And if there's a Millennium item nearby, it'll like point towards it like a magnet.
His spirit was pretty cool. That
But
guy
yeah,
was.
but he also
Yeah.
has sort of like an evil spirit in there, but it's a little bit eviler than Yugi's. And he also
he's like
has
chaotic evil.
Yeah,
whereas
he's very
Yami
he's
is,
chaotic
like,
evil.
Neutral evil.
He's just like pure
benevolent,
neutral, kind
Yeah,
of,
neutral.
Wait, who's neutral evil?
Yummy.
Yeah.
sort of.
Well, yeah.
Like, he's not good. Like I said, like he
I wouldn't
will
say he's
kill
good.
you if
He's
he's
not-
going to if it means he wins. Even like season 4, he's like, yeah, I would rather like this man lose his soul than I lose this card game with literally no stakes. It's like that's
Pretty
his
intense.
one weakness is he must win at all. That's like the price for using him. He has to win, period, and he'll do whatever it takes. Like he's not willing to throw a game for any reason.
So
In that
Yugi,
sense,
like,
he's done some kind of messed up stuff
Is he
because
okay
of that.
with
But,
this? I never see Yugi like react to the fact that he is being possessed.
well,
Doesn't he
the two
later?
of them have a pretty good repertoire by the time season 1 starts. Like they're two separate entities that talk to each other, and like they're
Got it.
kind of friends.
Yeah.
The Pharaoh spirits, his main motivation is he doesn't remember his past at all. All he knows is he's really good at games. But he's trying to find out, like, okay, what's my name? What's my deal? What's going on? What are these Millennium items? Like, he should know all this, but he doesn't.
So So Yugi is aware that he's like being wrapped
Yeah,
up.
like he transforms on purpose most of the time.
I mean, they're like partner switching, right?
Yeah, they're partners.
They're a
But
team.
by the time season one
Like
by the time
tagging out.
season one in the anime we know starts, Yami has chilled down considerably. Like he's less evil than he
Yeah,
used
he
to be.
mellowed.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, I'm just here to like play some cards and have some fun and
does he-
win
do
every
they-
time,
does
no
he-
matter what.
He ever lose?
He loses twice, and both times it's a big deal. And that's like the only times he ever kind of goes evilish is when he loses. But anyway, so season 1 starts. Yugi beats Kaiba. It's the first time he's ever lost a game, so he's super salty for the remainder of the series about it. And his only motivation is beat Yugi in this card game. It takes a long time for that to happen. Episode 2 kicks off. Pegasus mails a VHS tape to Yugi's house, and he puts in the tape and starts watching, and Pegasus shows up on the screen and is like, hello, I'm using Millennium Magic so that I can talk to you through this VHS, and we're going to play a game. But we're going to play it on a timer. And he's like, okay. So the two of them have like a virtual, like, he's literally dueling with the television set. But there's a time limit. He's going to like beat him before then. So literally seconds before he's about to attack and win the game, Pegasus is like, oh, oops, time's up. You lose. And he snatches Yugi's grandpa's soul and puts it inside of a trading card.
Yep.
And that's what kicks off the whole series. He's like, okay, listen up, Yugi. I'm having a tournament at my island. And if you come to my tournament and you win, I'll give you your grandpa's soul back. And Yugi's like, oh, God. Okay, yeah, let's do this. I should note, his grandpa, Yugi's parents are gone. Who knows where they are? He was raised by his grandpa, and his grandpa, like, runs a trading card shop. Which is why he's, like, so adept at this game. So they go to the island. Shenanigans happen, and they duel lots and lots of kooky characters, and eventually they have like the big final showdown. Oh, on the way, Kaiba like sort of shows up to the island as well, challenges Pegasus to a duel, and Kaiba loses. This is his second loss in a row.
Yeah, do
And,
you clarify on why Kaiba was at the island in the first place?
Oh yeah, I forget why, but for whatever reason, Pegasus just decided to kidnap Kaiba's little brother and stole his soul as well, and put it in a card. So Kaiba goes to the island.
Not cool, man.
Yeah, he actually on the way to the castle he beats Yugi because this is one of the 2 times he ever loses in the show. So they're using like prototype duel discs. And they're like, oh, well, I put some knockback in there. When you get attacked, it actually has a bit of a physical impact. So Kaiba's about to lose. And he goes to the lead. It's called the Duel's Kingdom Island. There's literally a castle, and that's where Pegasus lives. So he goes to like the top of the tower of one of the castle, and Kaiba just like stands on the edge and puts his arms out, and he's like, you can attack me. And if you do, the impact will knock me off the side of the tower, and I will die. And freaking Yami does it. He's like, attack, kill him. And Yugi has to like wrestle control back real quick, like, no, I call it back. And he loses. And that's one of the 2 times, you see what I mean about him kind of like going overboard?
I didn't expect it to be that early.
Yeah, this was like season, this was
Was that the Blue Eyes
mid-season
Ultimate
1.
episode where like they
Yeah,
had
it
the
was
crush card virus and shit?
Oh yeah, that was a really good one. And like he beats the ultimate monster by like fusing it with like a zombie elephant, and it slowly just decays turn by turn.
Graveyard.
Oh,
That
it was
a
great.
really odd effect.
This was season 1. They kind of flew by the seat of their pants, is what you were allowed to do.
I mean,
They
they had
made
stuff
it up.
like attacking the moon.
Oh, attack the
Oh,
moon,
yeah.
the most legendary scene. They're
That made no sense too, because the moon was an equipped magic card, and the Silver Fang that was equipped with it died, but the moon just stayed there for some reason.
Yeah.
well, this is
That was
season
the
1.
most
Equipped cards don't
hilarious
exist.
part.
There's just cards.
Oh no, it's so funny.
Some guy's like, I have the moon, and Yami's like, oh yeah, Stone Warrior, attack the moon.
Yeah,
And he does.
he was dueling against a like a guy with like ocean creatures, and he attacked the moon to like pull the tide out to beach all of his creatures and
It
win.
really just makes me feel like the show is making up the rules as it goes along. Because, like, when he initially plays the moon card, he's like, what? The tide came in? How? And then immediately after, he's like, I knew destroying the moon would cause the tide to recede.
Yeah, well, that was part of it. Was they were like the field effects were like the gimmick for the tournament.
Oh,
So
right.
that kind of explains some of it. But this part of the manga was written before the card game was made. So Kazuki Takahashi was kind of like making it up as he went. Like, it wasn't following strict rules yet. Then they made it into a real card game. He's like, okay, we have to have like actual rules for this game. You can't just make stuff up every single episode. And he's like, okay.
Thank goodness.
And from season 2 onwards, it pretty much followed the way the game really plays, for the most part.
Do you think the show would have been better or worse without being limited to following some sort of actual rules?
Oh, it would have
That
been
was a
better.
benefit?
Season 1 was the best, because
It
they
was
just
great.
make
That
up
was
whatever
kinda what I
random
thought.
thing. But they did kind of have like a logical through line. Like, oh yeah, your giant moth monster is covered in water, so if I use my demon with an electrical attack, that'll destroy it.
So it's like gym
Like,
battles in the Pokemon
That's what
anime,
makes-
where it's just like
Yeah, there was a lot of like type matchup stuff in season 1 that they never brought back, which it was interesting. Or like flying monsters, or get a bonus if they're attacking like land-based monsters. Like interesting stuff like that. I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense, and that's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
That kind of stuff makes it fun because that makes it like you're actually curious as to how they're gonna win because you don't know.
It's,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, because they can just pull some shit out of nowhere and then like suddenly change the
It's
game.
more like an actual battle between monsters than like a card game.
Yeah.
Just because
You know what this is?
it's like No Game
Season
No Life
1
anime,
is
where they
literally-
just pull out random shit.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Season 1 is literally a shonen battle arc. Like a shonen battle tournament arc.
Tournament
like,
arc.
It
Yeah,
was.
I mean,
like,
the
it
whole
really-
show
it
is
was-
that, right?
yeah, but like especially in season 1, because it was literally just like, oh, what crazy thing are they going to come up with now? Versus, season like 2, 3, 4, they're like, oh, I have this new card you've never seen before, and it has this weird specific effect that lets me win in this particular situation, which is gross.
How long is season 1?
It's very short. It's not long at all.
It's like 20 some episodes.
Yeah.
The final duel between Yugi and Pegasus is like a 5-parter, which was unheard of, because back in the day, getting up in the early morning Saturday, Kids WB, you get your 2 new episodes of Yugioh, took 3 weeks for us to watch that one duel.
I mean, yeah, but this was after DBZ, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was late.
But
'cause-
DVDs
This had to have
wasn't
been
DBZ
after,
like
like,
daily though.
Frieza.
Yu-Gi-Oh was weekly is the thing. That's the I forget.
yeah,
So
Yu-Gi-Oh
it
was...
doesn't do at that point. Has been
Regardless,
out
though,
for a while.
Frieza.
You are underwater, Marowak.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were like
What?
Are you submerged?
I was laying down.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, your mic just kind of went weird for a sec. It's fine. You're good.
Sorry.
Nah, yeah, it's fine. But anyway, so Pegasus now has Yugi's grandpa's soul and Kaiba's younger brother's soul. And when Kaiba beats Yugi and goes to challenge Pegasus, he loses and loses his soul too.
Yeah.
So now all 3 of them are have been taken. So they have their like the finals where like the 4 best duelists from the tournament up to that point, they all play against each other. Very fun duels, especially the one where Yugi and his buddy Joey have to fight each other because only one of them can win the tournament. The idea is they were going to split it. Joey would take the prize money and Yugi would get the souls back.
Yeah, Joey's in
not
it for the
woman.
money to save
Yeah,
his sister's
His sister needs
eyesight.
surgery. Yeah, his sister's going to go blind if she doesn't get surgery. So he has to win the tournament. Which, that was localized too. In the show, or in the original manga and the anime, it was just, oh, she's going to die if we don't get the money to do this surgery. So, yeah, he's dueling like, oh, if you mess up, your sister's dead.
Yeah, that's
E-
the
either
other thing
way,
I
I still-
noticed.
it's
Yeah, it's
propaganda
like-
for health care.
There's just like incredible tone whiplash. Like even in just like the 3 episodes I watched, it seems
Yeah.
like it goes from just like ha 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 yeah very funny to like everybody's going to die and like my life is fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That's teenagehood in a live show.
Which, when I was watching this, when it was first airing when I'm like 12, I'm like, oh, there's some serious stuff in this goofy cartoon. This is better than just being purely goofy. So, like, credit for keeping some of the more hardcore stuff in, I guess. But,
I was like casually watching the first few episodes last night. I tried to make it from 1 to 7 and I just couldn't. I watched like 1 to 4 and I was like, nah, I'm done. but yeah, like I found it funny. It's not like it like took me out of it more than it like
I
raised
did
the
laugh
stakes
out loud
when they're just
more
like,
than
oh,
a couple of times.
yeah. Yeah.
I would say that as this goes on, it gets way, way more serious. Like, season 4 in particular, they go to some dark places. Like, so skipping ahead, I'll get to that later. Let's keep on track. So, so they have the final battle between Pegasus and Yugi, and Yugi pulls some stuff out of his butt and he wins.
Yep, the power of friendship compels you.
Actually,
Literally.
yes, literally, because his friends all like band together to help build like a psychic barrier to prevent. Because the reason Pegasus always wins, he made up all of his cards for his deck, and they're absolutely like over the top powerful and stupid, and untouchable and can't be killed. And 2, he can read your mind. That's the power of his Millennium Eye. So, but Yugi wins despite all this. Pegasus is like, okay, fair enough. The rules of this duel in the ancient tradition of magic. I have to hand over all the souls. And he takes his loss like a champ, and he gives him the prize money, and he's like, okay, get off my island, go, bye. And so they got the souls back for his grandpa and Seto and Seto's brother, and they all leave. But on the way back, Bakura, the evil spirit in his Millennium Ring, takes over, and he plucks out Pegasus's eye, his Millennium Eye, and takes it.
So what is the exact power of the Millennium Eye?
The Millennium Eye lets you read minds. Or I guess clairvoyance, you could say.
Yugi still outplayed him in the first
I think
duel.
It's more like you can see what the other person sees.
Didn't they swap? Didn't they swap between Yami and Yugi?
That makes sense.
They swapped bodies so he could only, and so they had not complete information. Like one.
Yeah, they started. That was a cool. They do stuff like that stuff because they were switching back and forth so that he couldn't read both of their minds, and they didn't both 100% know what the strategy was, but the two of them together did.
Like he laid down a card face down, and then the other side he would swap to the other person. And then, like, when Pegasus would attack, he'd swap back so the other person who knew what the face down card could be able to activate it.
Yeah, it was cool.
That. Yeah,
as the way it was demonstrated in the show, though, it's only like clairvoyance, I guess you could say. Like, you can see what the other person sees with the eye. But that's pretty much how that works. But anyway, yeah. So Bakura plucks out the eye, and depending on which version, if you're reading the manga, he just straight up kills him. He's dead. In the anime, though, and even the Japanese anime, he doesn't get killed, he just loses his eye. Which is interesting, because he makes cameos, in GX and even beyond in the anime, whereas he's dead in the manga. So
he was in, that movie.
He's in the movie, too, yeah, which is, non-canon.
Really?
Him Sephiroth.
It's funny because that's as far as I know, other than the filler arcs, the only big deviation between the manga and the anime was Pegasus gets killed in the manga and not in the anime, even the Japanese version, which is odd, but he's a fun character and getting to see more of him is cool.
Yeah, I mean, he basically becomes he doesn't become a friend or an ally or anything, but he's cooperative and.
He helps him out in season 4.
There. Yeah, he does some cool stuff. That's hey, thanks for being there.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the end of season 1. There's a little tiny filler arc where they play this weird dice game in season.
Oh yeah,
in season 1.5.
Dice Duel Monsters.
I have actually played real Dungeon Dice Monsters once. It sucks.
Never again.
I'm not surprised it didn't sell well. It's only fun if you watch the show just to meme on it. It's not an actually fun game. But I mean,
it's a cool idea. I mean, it basically turns a card game and a board game and fuses them into one.
Yeah, it's okay.
Maybe if it was a video game, maybe it'd be more fun.
Yeah, Capsule Monsters. I remember playing that game on the PS.
Yeah, I think that's season 0 stuff, actually. That was one little mini arc in season 0. Is like the last thing before season 1 started. They played capsule monsters against the evil spirit of Bakura's ring, and they got like turned into their characters. He does that a lot.
You become the game pieces.
It literally, yes.
Yeah.
Like that happens like more than once when they're playing against Bakura. Like I think that's like another power of his ring that they just never explicitly state. Is that if you're playing, you can take your real-life people, including just random bystanders, and put them in the game.
Yeah, I think that happened in season 1 also.
Yeah, for like one little filler episode. And they start realizing, wait a minute, there's something weird with Bakura. Well, yeah, he just used ancient Egyptian magic on you to turn you into game cards. They all thought it was a dream, so...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
For shame.
Yeah. Anyhow, that little filler dice arc, all that happens is they gain a new bystander, Duke Devlin, who's just like a game designer who hangs out with them.
He's like, I made dungeon dice monsters. Isn't that cool? Everyone's like, eh.
Yeah, pretty much. Like he's just another guy to stand on the stand on the sidelines and talk while they're playing to explain what they just did. So that's all that happens there. Season 2 starts in earnest. So 2 new Millennium Item 3 actually show up. Briefly, this weird guy in a turban. You may know him from like the theme song. He shows up for a couple seconds, but he's like this weird, mysterious character. Shadi. He has the Millennium Key, which is just like an Ankh with a key at the end, and it like lets you unlock your mind and like go into someone's mind, like the physical manifestation of it. And all the stuff where they're like walking around inside of the puzzle, and it's like the maze with the staircases and the labyrinth and all that. That's because they unlocked his mind with a key. Yeah, and he just gave some like.
I was just gonna say it's less that he's reading his mind. It's literally that he's going into your subconscious and like
literally
feeling out
the
your
physical representation.
Yeah,
literally Psychonauts.
Literally,
just
that's
that.
way to put it.
Or Inception, either way. But yeah, it's pretty much just that. Like, it's the physical representation of your mind. He can unlock that, and once it's unlocked, you can go in whenever you want. They do it several times later in the show, but and he's just this like weird mystical like dude from Egypt who he has all of the knowledge about the items, and he just doesn't want to tell them yet. But he's like, here, I'm just gonna unlock your mind. Bye. And we don't see him for a couple seasons.
He's also the one that gave Pegasus the eye in the first place.
Yeah, like he's working to like bring all of the Millennium items together, like behind the scenes, but he doesn't want to get too involved, I don't think. But anyhow, so season 2 starts in earnest. The other 2 new wielders are a brother and sister of like actual Egyptians from Egypt who were like they lived in poverty, and their parents were like creepy tomb keepers who lived under the pyramids, and Merrick got the Millennium Rod, which has the ability to let you take control of someone's mind and turn them into your puppet. And his sister, Isis, got the Millennium Necklace, which lets you see a little bit into the future.
Or into the past.
Or into the past. Yeah, it lets you just like see through time. Supposedly, it's always perfect knowledge, but that's challenged later. So
Can
anyway,
you see any moment like you can see the past in some other country or some other place, I assume?
I think so. You have to have a specific idea of what you're looking for.
Okay.
Hers is one of those, they don't go into much detail on how it works. Yeah, Merrick, right there. That's
Yep.
So he's like one of the other big antagonists of the show. So the 2 of them come over from Egypt. Isis goes to the... Sorry, what?
Weren't they not together?
Yeah, they came over separately, but at the same time. Isis goes and meets with Seto Kaiba at this ancient Egyptian museum, and where they've got this big stone tablet that shows 2 guys who look kind of like Yugi and Kaiba battling it out with the Dark Magician of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Boo boo. And so they're kind of like, hey guys, we're coming over from Egypt to tell you about your mystical past, and also you 2 are destined to battle again. Also, my evil brother's on the way. Have a god card. And she gives him the first of 3 Egyptian god cards, which are like the 3 best cards in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Period. In the show. until later series come out. But they're supposed to be the best, and they're really good, but they are beatable. So anyway, she just loans one to Kaiba. Like, you can borrow this.
Yeah. Question. What? Wait. Sorry. Hang on. What was the gimmick behind Obelisk the Tormentor exactly? All I knew is that it was like 4,000 points, but there was really nothing else to it, right?
He has 4,000. All the god cards are like indestructible by card effects.
I posted in the chat. Just read that .0 side.
Yeah, this is how like
Wait,
most
Slifer the
Yu-Gi-Oh
Sky Dragon is one of them?
games. Yes, yeah,
Yeah, those are the three.
Yeah.
I didn't know. My friend unpacked Slifer, and I wanted it from him just because it looked cool.
Yeah, it looks cool, but it's they made a real life version and it's garbage. They nerfed it so hard that it's not even playable. It's sad. Yeah. Everyone was sad when we read what it really was going to do, and we're like, oh no one's going to use this. But anyhow, Obelisk was you can tribute. All of them take 3 tributes to play. With Obelisk, if you're willing to tribute 2 more guys, you just instantly destroy every single one of your opponent's monsters for free. That's what he does.
Sounds pretty worth.
And then with no monsters,
becomes infinity until the end of the turn.
That was like a weird thing they did in the show sometimes, where if you tribute the other 2 Egyptian gods to him,
yeah,
he would do that.
This is like the show rules, I think, on these.
Yeah, that was like some season 1 stuff. Season 1 nonsense level, but anyway, that's what he does. Slifer's gimmick is that his attack is 1,000 per card in your hand. And he has a thing where he automatically attacks little monsters as they come out. Like, just instant kill. And then the Winged Dragon of Ra has like 15 effects, and I'm not going to get into them.
Yeah, they do.
I just remember the show, like,
it's weird and complicated.
They dueled Marowak, there was always another effect, and it's just like...
Yeah, and like, there's some really weird specific ones, too. Like you can fuse him with yourself, and his attack is the same as your life points. But then if you defuse, he comes back as a 0, and you're back to normal.
And it's like a phoenix or something, and comes back if it dies, or some weird shit.
Yeah, like there's a whole nother mode to it. Like, oh my, it's the most. And on top of that, in the show, the text was written in like ancient Egyptian, and if you read it out loud, you automatically took control of it, no matter whose side of the field it was on.
Oh yeah,
like that's an actual effect.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, because at one point, my duels Merrick, and she takes it out of his hand and plays it like, oh, I get a god card, I'll win. And then it comes out and it's just like an orb. It's just like, why isn't it doing anything? It's a god card. And Merrick just starts like chanting, and then it comes over to his side of the field and kills her.
So
Cheats,
do
basically.
like the normal people in this world know about all this goofy ancient Egyptian stuff, or is it just lol, a funny card game?
It's mostly lol, a funny card game, but if you hang around enough with Yugi and the gang, you kind of get in on the knowledge.
All right.
Of like, oh, there's some crazy magic happening. Like, normal people just tend to ignore it for whatever reason. They're not very bright, just the NPCs in this show. But anyway, so Kaiba gets a god card. Merrick is coming over from Egypt. He has 2 god cards, the other 2, and he wants that obelisk. He wants that 3rd one, and he's got a whole army of what he calls rare hunters, who are just players who go and they steal the rarest card out of your deck. He has like a whole army of them, and they're all his mind-controlled slaves because of the Millennium Rod. And they all have like weird gimmicky decks. Like there's one guy who had like 3 copies of Exodia, and that was his whole deck.
That's like a real deck, right?
No, in the real game, it's limited 1 copy of each piece.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I had a buddy with an Exodia deck, and it was so good it won without playing Exodia.
Wait, was Exodia not just actually banned in the card game? Was
No, they're a real Exodia deck.
No, you can totally play it.
It's pretty hard to assemble Exodia combo. So like,
because it's 5 garbage cards,
Yeah.
and you have to specifically have all 5 in your hand.
And are all
at
the
same
good draw
time.
cards banned?
It's because all the good draw
Yeah.
cards are banned.
Because like
No,
that guy
like,
had,
Okay, that's
Agreed.
interesting. I thought it was just a meme that was like not tournament legal, but the fact
No,
that
it's
they made that
absolutely tournament
actually,
legal. It's just so
actually
inconsistent
reasonable.
and garbage.
I remember
People
that
don't
in the
typically
show.
do it.
That guy had like 3 graceful charities, like
Pot of Greed, not legal in the card game.
3 pot
Yeah,
of
you can
greed,
beat that guy
3
by just-
graceful charities, just like 3 copies
Yeah,
of
he was just
Exodia.
draw.
Yeah.
And defense.
How many like cards would you have per deck? Like, was there like a max? Like,
in real
The
life.
Yu-Gi-Oh card deck is between 40 and 60. you can have up to 3 copies of a card. There's obviously a ban list of like limited and forbidden cards and stuff like that. And also, if you're playing competitively, you're never going to have more than exactly 40.
Yeah.
But
Gotcha.
in the show, I'm pretty sure it was the same way, about 40 to 60. So anyway, season 2 really kicks off. Kaiba's got this god card. He wants the other 2 just to have the best cards in the game. Merrick wants them because he wants to take over the world with ancient Egyptian magic. And these are like, they're Egyptian god cards. They're infused with the real souls of the real monsters. Like, there's a flashback scene of Pegasus, like, painting the art for the cards. And he, like, gets possessed for a minute and then brought back to ancient Egypt. And he has a crazy trip. And he's like, oh, these are too powerful. Even I shouldn't be playing them. And he, like, locks them away. Merrick steals the 3. Isis takes Obelisk and runs off. And she gives Obelisk to Kaiba. Kaiba just wants to be the best at this card game. He doesn't care about magic. So he throws a tournament of his own, the Battle City Tournament, where it's just you battle all across the city we all live in. This is where dual discs are introduced. He's like, forget these like big hologram arenas. Here's just a thing you wear on your arm that just projects the holograms from there.
We're taking it to the streets.
Exactly.
The dual discs.
Wait, who's Isis? The god?
Isis is Merrick's sister.
Is it Ishizu or is that different?
Yeah.
It was different between between the
okay, it's different.
Between Japan and America. Okay. That was different. That's one of those they changed for whatever reason. But so depending on which one, you could, either name works.
Isn't Isis an Egyptian god too?
Yes. Like in real life, Isis is a Egyptian goddess or something.
Yeah. They just found something vaguely Egyptian sounding and went with it. So anyway, so he's having a new tournament, and the rules are changed so that they're pretty much the same as the real life rules. Tributing and attacking and all that stuff. You just have 4,000 instead of 8,000 points is the only real difference. And the other rule he institutes is whenever you lose a game, you have to hand over the rarest card in your deck to your opponent. And everyone's plan is to just, everyone with the god cards duels each other, and the winners just keep collecting more god cards. So the tournament goes on for a while. There's a bunch of like goofy, gimmicky duels. Joey gets a bunch of good cards because he just duels all of the like the gimmick characters from season 1, and he takes. Yep. So he has this like he has like a crazy bug monster, and a crazy like fish guy, and
it's
Jinzo.
Jinzo, yeah.
Yeah,
dude, Jinzo.
Jinzo's so
That's like
awesome.
the meme, no traps.
No traps. Jinzo. And like he keeps using Jinzo till the very end of the series. Like it becomes one of his signature cards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Does he still use like time machine dude in the end of the show?
Time wizard?
Absolutely,
time
he
wizard.
does.
Oh yeah.
Like wait till
Red
he starts
eyes.
like. Oh yeah. You should see, season 4. He starts like fusing them with these magical dragons.
Oh, you know what? Fucking Joey is like the Goku of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because he just takes everyone's good techniques and uses it for himself.
Pretty much, yeah. He just like takes all their best. Like he just happens to win all the best cards from people.
When I first started watching the shows, Joey was my favorite, but then it changed to Kaiba later.
All 3 of them are
Kaiba's
great.
my favorite too.
Kaiba's pretty based, I will say.
Freaking Jinzo, dude.
Dude, Jinzo kind of freaky, not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, he's kind of weird.
Yeah, weird psychic man thing.
I mean, like a lot of the people that they fight are like pretty weird guys.
They're themed. Like there's the ESP guy, there's the fish guy, there's the bug guy, there's the dinosaur guy. Like
I just want to point out because I was watching the sub of the 4 through 7 episodes of the show, and they literally referred to Rex Raptor and Weevil Underwood as Dinosaur and Insector.
those were their actual names in Japanese.
I don't know.
No way.
Was that their actual names? Because I don't know if that was just their title or. If
No, that was their
names.
their legal birth names was Insector Haga and
That
Dinosaur
is
like Kayazuya or
fucking
something like that.
hilarious. I love it.
Yeah.
They're equally corny in America, but like it was literally that in the sub. So
And I was a little taken aback by how Joey has like a vaguely Bostonian ? Accent.
I think it's Brooklyn.
Yeah, the meme is the Brooklyn
One of
accent,
two.
which
Okay, Brooklyn, right.
so
Brooklyn Rage.
I can't
Brooklyn
tell.
Rage. So the funniest freaking thing. So a couple years ago, they were releasing like packs of the 3 main characters from the original show, and a couple of monsters like exclusive never before seen of theirs, and some like crappy little filler monsters came out, like, but there are ones that he used at some point in the show, and the flavor text in them, they wrote it in his accent on the cards, the real cards.
The real cards?
The real life cards for the real life card game. Just obviously just in the American version of it.
So what is this for?
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to like
I gotta
they
look
were
this
like
up.
tiny little puke monsters with like 800 attack and no effects and anything. Like no one was ever going to play them, so just like for fun.
Like your
They
first
released-
set of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, where everything had like 100 attack.
No. This was ones they were never because they were so bad, they never bothered to like translate or release them in America. And they only did this like a couple years ago. Just it was in our back burner. We finally got around to releasing it. And just for fun, they put his accent on the cards. I would have to look later on. I'll look and try and find so I
we
can share
gotta
a picture with you guys.
we need the visual on this.
Because I don't remember any of the one. I would like it would take me like 5 minutes to go and look it up, but I'll do it after the show. It's freaking hilarious. But for those of you listening to this episode at home, we'll be putting it on screen right now.
That's
Okay.
just you, editor.
With a pause.
Yeah, got some homework for you, Ryan. Anyway, so they go through the tournament. Also, part of the gimmick is every time you win a game, you get a piece of the map to tell you where the finals are going to be. And it turns out they're on a blimp. Like, they get the 8 finalists, which include all of our main characters, and Merrick, and Ishtar,
Mai.
and Mai, and this guy who's pretending to be Merrick. Like, it's just like Merrick's best friend from childhood. But he's just pretending to be Merrick so that people don't suspect that Merrick is actually Merrick.
Well,
And he's got, like, a
Ignore me.
It's his brother-in-law, right, or something, or no, or something like that. It's like his brother, like stepbrother.
As far as the dub goes, it's just his friend from when he, like his adopted brother from when he was a little
dub.
kid.
Yeah, that was
it's
what
a
I
dub
was
thing.
saying.
Okay.
Like, but yeah, he's like, oh, I am eternally grateful to you, so I'll be your, like, body double in this tournament. So nobody knows, and Kaiba almost disqualifies him just for, like, registering under a fake name. But, I thought he's like, you know what? Nah, let's see this play out, because I want to copy that God card. Like, he's like, I would ban you, but God cards. So
We need the plot.
So anyway, they go up in the blimp and they're having their tournament, and people are getting sent to the Shadow Realm left and right because some of our so yeah, his bet, yeah, okay, there's a whole finals.
What the fuck?
So there's that's the tournament right there. But they go and they're fighting it out. A lot of people lose their souls. And right before they get down to the final 4, season 3 interrupts all of a sudden.
This I remember.
Yeah,
this shit. This was
totally
garbage.
The worst
This part's
season of
awesome.
all.
This
Oh,
was
I
like
love
the
it.
most troll shit ever.
Which is
I love
obviously
season 3.
not in the manga whatsoever.
I need a story of why did they just decide to put season 3 right at that point?
They ran out of manga to adapt into the anime, so they had to make a filler arc real quick.
Oh, I love it.
So they
you're
just
telling me in the middle of the tournament they just like pause. And
Yes.
A whole other season.
yes, and listen to this. So their blimp gets tractor beamed to an underwater base.
Of course it does.
Okay.
And these guys with machine guns force them off and force them to get in these, like, pods. And it uploads their brain into the Matrix. And they're in, like, a isekai virtual world where five business guys who used to work for Kaiba. There was a filler episode
This
a
is
while
the
ago where
Five Guy
these-
Dragon guys, because this happened
Yeah.
earlier. There was another virtual reality.
Yeah, there was like a
arc.
1-episode virtual world arc where they just went into, like, a fantasy world, but they also played cards.
It was a couple.
And
episodes.
it was just 5 disgruntled employees of Kaiba, like, wanted to, like, trap his
Yeah,
brain in the
5
virtual
heads.
world so that they could, like, take control of his body and be real people again. And if they failed and they were trapped in the virtual world forever, but they finally came back and they've now kidnapped the entire main cast, other than like Merrick, who's just like wandering around on this like empty battleship.
Yeah, why did
Not-
they capture him?
He's just really sneaky.
But I like how they had a theme card for 5 bosses. They had the 5-headed dragon. That was cool.
Yeah. But anyway, so they're in the virtual world. They have to make like virtual decks with a list of like a repository of real cards. Obviously, no god cards
that thing's
allowed because they're not in the virtual world. And there's like a new weird gimmick where you have like your soul is bonded to one of your monsters, and you can set him aside, and he gets a new boss monster power, and you can play him whenever you want. But if that monster dies, you instantly lose. And every time you lose a game, one of those creepy big 5 guys like puts his brain in your body, and you're stuck in the virtual world forever. So they're all dueling and beating the big 5 one by one until at one point they have a 3v1 game against like the robot themed guy, and it's all of our like D-list characters. We've got Tristan, Joey's sister,
Serenity.
and Duke Devlin, who have like Duke's the only one who's ever played cards before. Like the other two are just like I watch this game but I don't play. So they 3v1 him.
I mean, Serenity was literally blind up until recently, so...
Yeah, there's a note, she did get her surgery, and, like, her eyesight will come back, but she's, like, partially blind still. Like, she can't see real good. She's fine in the virtual world, though. But, so anyway, they duel, and though they do technically win before the end of the game, Tristan, his main guy, dies to, his, like, boss monster dies to save, Joey's sister. And this big 5 guy takes control of Tristan's body. And Tristan's soul is put into a little, like, Tamagotchi-looking monkey robot.
Monkey.
Just as a placeholder body. So for the rest of the season, he's stuck as a robot monkey. In the virtual world still. They have to, like, all exit at the same time, so...
Yeah, I vaguely remember seeing that.
Yeah, so he's in a...
I used that image in a video.
So he's in a
no
robot monkey. So eventually they have the big duel. Yugi and Joey team up to battle all 5 big 5 at the same time, and they do end up killing the 5-headed dragon. And they beat all 5 of the big 5. So you'd think you're out of the clear, but no. As it turns out, the person behind... Yeah, the robot monkey. The person behind all of this was... So, Kaiba and his brother were adopted by a rich dude named Gozaburo Kaiba, who ran a weapons manufacturing company. And he adopted them, but before that, he actually did have a birth son, who just happened to look like Kaiba with like green hair, just palette swap. And
it's the shiny
reference to
Kaiba.
season 0.
Yeah, literally, yes. So that was his real biological son, who died in a car crash. But Gozaburo put his brain into the computer and gave him like a virtual world to live in, so that he'd be happy. But eventually, like his friends stopped visiting, and he started slowly going insane in isolation in a virtual world. And so when the Big 5 showed up, he invited them in, like, hey, you want to be my lackeys and help me get revenge on Kaiba? And they were all like, heck yeah. So he's secretly Kaiba's step-brother, who is in the virtual world since childhood, is the one in charge of all of this. His name's Noah. His big boss monster is literally an arc.
Ah.
It's stupid.
Yeah,
This whole season
it
was
is
stupid. So, they duel him. Kaiba actually, I forget what happened. He doesn't lose the duel, but he's like turned to stone by some weird virtual world magic thing. And Yugi
And
literally
then Yami
steps
literally
in,
stepped right in.
picks up Kaiba's duel disc, and finishes the game with Kaiba's cards.
Oh, I bet Seto must be raving mad in there.
Yeah, so he beats Noah. Theoretically, they're all free, but the final boss is Kaiba's dad, who everyone thought was dead, but he also actually uploaded his brain into the computer. So Kaiba's dad plays against Kaiba, and he also uses like an Exodia-based deck, but like with a weird twist. But it doesn't matter.
Did you say base?
It was like dark or something. Dark Exodia.
Yeah, it was like
something?
evil Exodia, who gets stronger for every piece you put in your graveyard, instead of trying to put him in your hand. But he lost because that's a dumb card, and they fly away on their blimp, with all of them in their correct bodies and nobody's brain's been snatched right as the thing they're been on explodes. So all of this was for nothing, because the next episode they just continue on with the Battle City Finals. The blimp docks it like a big...
the story.
Yeah, finally back to Season 2 after Season 3's over. So they park the blimp at like this big tower in the middle of nowhere to have their final tournament. And Joey gets knocked out, and then Kaiba gets knocked out in the finals, actually, between Yugi and Merrick. Because Yugi beat Kaiba, he now has 2 of the God cards. And Merrick only has the Winged Dragon of Ra. So if Yugi wins, he will get all 3 God cards. Oh, I never said why that's important. So the reason Yugi wants them all is because apparently that stone tablet in the museum, if he brings the 3 God cards to the tablet, it'll like give him ancient memories of his past. And unlock those secrets of like, what's going on with me? So yeah, he goes and then he beats Merrick. At this point, Merrick was like, he has like a pseudo alternate personality from the Millennium Rod that's been slowly taking control and like turning him crazy. When they beat Merrick he snaps out of it, and like his alter ego is banished to the Shadow Realm, and he just kind of turns into a nice guy. He's like, yeah, sorry about all that evil. I was like possessed, kinda. So, want to be friends? And they're like, yeah, sure.
It's
and
like
I'm pretty
Super
sure that,
Saiyan. Like his hair goes up instead of being down when he's possessed.
Yeah. At one point, the evil spirit of Merrick and the evil spirit of Bakura fight. And I don't remember if that had any conclusion or point to it, but it was just kind of interesting.
I do love everybody's hair in this entire series. Like, everything is just, like, edgy, literally and figuratively.
Oh, absolutely. It's great.
Yeah,
you could probably
like
slice
too.
You could probably use them as weapons.
Yu-Gi-Oh was, dude, it was cool as fuck as a kid. Just everything about it. Maybe if
that's
I
what it
actually
is.
watched the show, it'd be less cool than just thinking about how cool the cards are. But
It might actually
Well, like I
spoil
said,
it
it gets-
because it's,
Yes.
like, it's kind of cheesy.
It does get a little bit like edgier and more serious as like the end of season 2 and season 4 and 5 come around. Like, it's not as like a doofy kiddie as much.
I remember
So-
trying to rewatch it a few years back, and I just found it impossible to get through the duels because they just draw it out for so long. It's like,
that's
another
a-
4-parter. Here we go, another 4-parter
Yeah,
where they
how
just
did kids
talk
manage
very
to watch
slowly
this?
about what they're doing, and then they cut to a scene of the background characters talking about the thing they just did for another 5 minutes, and then it like nothing happens for 4 episodes.
mean-
and it's just.
It moves too slow for what it is. We
just
really
like
need like
Dragon
a
Ball.
we need like Yu-Gi-Oh! Kai.
Yes,
Really.
that would actually be good.
so is all of this pacing, like, I'm not sure if you have broader context of the show in relation to other shows like it, but is that like Pokemon does a similar thing, right, in the show, where like
Where it's battles,
there's just
yeah.
constantly like people over explaining everything that's going on. Was
Desperado
There's a
Yu-Gi-Oh!
lot
like
of that.
Dragon.
informative of that at all, or is it like more of a product of similar shows like that?
I think it's just a symptom of that, like, just in its time, that's the way they adapted anime, is like literally
Yeah, 'cause
like
this is from,
each
like-
chapter is a 20-minute episode.
Yeah, this is like 2001? Question mark?
Around there.
Okay, that makes sense then.
I think a little later than that, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, it was maybe like the manga started in 1999, so this might have been like 2001 to 2003 is probably about when it started here in the States. So,
Yeah,
The dub.
actually, you're right. Yeah, 2001. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
and it's still going to this day.
About this Desperado
Yeah.
Revolver
Jesus
Dragon
Christ.
dude in the chat. This reminds me of that anime with the gunhead dude.
Oh,
I
I know what you're
Gun
talking about.
Life or
Fuck.
something.
I never saw the anime. I've just
No
seen the
Gun Life, I
character,
think
and
it's
that
called.
reminds me of this card that you posted.
Yeah, that card is cool as fuck. That's the. I'm completely with Kyrie on this. Like, cards based show creation.
Yeah, I'll get into that as soon
glad
as
I
we
never
finish.
watched the
We've
show
only got
now.
2 seasons to go because season 2 is over, so now we can go to season 4, which is
I don't know. I
just
thought the
like
Egyptian
about
stuff was
season
kind of
4.
cool, honestly, about the show. Like all the lore. But-
oh yeah, because they do dish it out consistently, but pretty slowly. So it's like sort of like a running thread in the background the whole time, which is nice. Like it keeps the mystery up without. Oh, I forgot about that. That's been 50 episodes. But Yeah, so season 4 is interesting because they go into more like, despite being a filler arc, it's one of like the fan favorites. There's a lot of interesting duels in there, and they go into more like ancient magic stuff.
Which season is this?
Season 4, which takes place right after the end of season 2.
Okay, this is the past. This is past what I know because I finished like season 2 and never watched anymore.
Yeah. There's only 2 more arcs left, 2 more seasons. So well, there was one filler tournament that was like 5 episodes long, but I'm not even going to bother with that. So there was So they win the tournament. Yugioh has all 3 god cards, and he's supposed to go to the museum. And if he like holds him up in front of that big stone tablet with the carving of him on there, he'll get all his memories back. So he goes and he does it, and something goes wrong. The thing just freezes over, and suddenly the city's being attacked by monsters, like real monsters. Like, oh, the dual monsters are for real now, and everyone in the world is freaking out because there's like monsters attacking every city. It turns out, by happenstance, at the exact same time he went to the museum to do the thing, an ancient magical organization attacked that they want the god cards too now. Because they want to feed them to their Giga Mega Leviathan monster. And it takes the power of all 3 god cards and a whole bunch of human souls to wake it up and have it destroy the world. So Yugi just like, the god cards just like teleport away from him all of a sudden. He's like, oh crap. And this like weird group of guys in like cloaks challenges him to a duel. And he's like, okay. So they start dueling. And this guy opens with a field spell. One of the most famous cards in the game, the Seal of Orichalcos. It's just like a 6-pointed diamond in a ring with a bunch of symbols around it. But this card is infused with ancient Atlantean magic that is 10,000 years old and supersedes even the Millennium items. And if you're part of the organization, then you've like passed the test and you have access to like the ancient magic. And this card, this isn't like the god cards. There's like a bunch of copies of this card lying around. They just all draw their power from the same source. And if you play it, it triggers first of all the monsters become real. Second of all, it's a literal seal. Like, you physically can't get in or out of the ring. Like, it's just on the ground, and it's just a cylinder. Everyone's inside's locked inside, everyone outside's locked outside. And you get a bunch of, like, stupid effects. Like, all of your cards get a 500-point boost, and, like, you turn a little bit more evil. And
so is this one I found?
You have, like,
totally
extra
different?
monster slots? You get just... Sorry, what?
I found one and posted in the chat. Is that one just totally different? I'm trying to find...
No, this is it. That's just, like... They made for the real card game version of it. Just the effect's been tweaked a bit.
Okay.
In the show, this had like ancient magic in it, and like you just couldn't leave the circle once it's played. It's for keeps because whoever loses the duel, their soul gets trapped in the card, and eventually all of the souls that get trapped will be fed to the Leviathan. It'll awaken and destroy the world because it takes a whole bunch of souls that they're just stealing by dueling people, and also the 3 god cards. Specifically, though, they want the Pharaoh's soul, because his is, like, especially strong, being, like, a magical person. So if they get that one, that'll be enough to kick it off.
Pharaoh.
Yeah.
This is Yugi's Pharaoh?
Yeah, Yugi's
Yeah.
the spirit
Like the
spirit
Pharaoh?
of the Millennium Puzzle. Like,
Okay.
technically they are still 2 people and 2 souls, and they want the Pharaohs. Because that one just has magical energy, and would more than give them enough to get their Leviathan awake.
So, do these guys that want to awaken the Leviathan, do they have like a goal, or do they just want to watch the world burn?
They want to watch the world burn. It's revealed every single one of them had like went through some like really messed up stuff, and they just hate humanity for one reason or another, and they just want everyone to be destroyed, and the world to be like
man.
cleansed of evil humans.
Sometimes you gotta get that Leviathan justice.
Yeah, the Leviathan is like planetary scale monster. But anyhow, so they start dueling. Every time they duel somebody, they lose their souls. So this organization is a good thing they have a couple of like filler character members because they keep dropping. But this is like one of the arcs where the show starts getting serious. To combat this, and also because Yugi lost his god cards, they need a new special gimmick monster. So, these, like I said, within the circle, monsters are real. and it turns out there's a whole nother like dimension where all of the Duel monsters are actually from. In ancient Egypt, they were being summoned from that dimension to do battle.
Oh, that's right.
And in the circle, that can invoke that same power automatically by just playing the normal card game. So the spirit of the Dark Magician girl comes to Yugi in a dream and says, "Hey, I've got something for you." And she hands him this new legendary dragon card. And he's like, "Okay, this is pretty cool." And she's like, "I got some more for your friends too." And Kaiba gets one and Joey gets one. And there's these weird cards. They're not spells. They're not monsters. They're just like, you play them and then some goofy thing happens to give you like a Deus Ex Machina to win the duel.
So
Each
are
one
they anime exclusive?
Not anymore. And they're so complicated, it took a long time to adapt them into real cards, but you can get them. But the 3 legendary dragons, each one, when you play it, it'll fuse with one of your cards in a different way. Yugi's just fuses it with the Dark Magician. The Dark Magician is now a dragon rider. But like Kaiba's, the dragon fuses with his trap cards. So like he gets like the crush card virus dragon. Or like the Ring of Destruction dragon.
I mean, I know everyone knows Dark Magician Girl, but I gotta post it.
Yeah, classic Dark Magician Girl.
That's not the classic one. The classic one's the face, but you gotta get the full body.
Oh yeah. They knew what they were doing. And Joey's dragon is the goofy one because it fuses with his monster to make a weapon that one of his other monsters have to like hold. Like he fuses it with his Red Eyes Black Dragon, gets the Red Eyes Black Dragon sword.
With the flame swordsman.
I don't think he did, but he fused it with the Time Wizard to make this goofy mallet that, like, if it hits you with it, it teleports your monster through time.
What?
Nice.
Oh yeah, it just disappears for like you roll a dice and it disappears for that many turns.
Oh.
Like interesting stuff. So they have these dragons that like have inherent powers to counteract the evil Orichalcos magic from Atlantis. So they're dueling. At one point, this one guy's like, "I challenge you to a duel, Yugi. If you beat me, I'll tell you the headquarters of our organization." Yugi's like, "Oh heck yeah, okay." So they're dueling.
I wish I had OBS like recording my left monitor, so I could have just had the whole card thing on screen.
But anyway, so so the two of them are going at it, and Yugi starts losing. And this is really bad because the spirit of the Pharaoh, his one like weakness is that he will not lose no matter what. And the other guy takes advantage of this, and he plays like a card to like trade cards out of each other's hand. And he hands a copy of the evil spell card, the Seer of Orichalcos. He just gives it to Yugi and it's like, "Hey, here you go. You can play this if you want. Like, if you lose this duel, nothing bad will happen to you. But I'm just going to let you have this, and if you feel like playing it, you can." And the spirit of the Pharaoh is like, "I can't play this card, but I must, because I have to win." And Kid Yugi's like, No, don't do that. If we lose, nothing bad happens. And the spirit is like, "But I can't lose." And he's like, "I don't care. It doesn't matter if you just lose." He's like, "I can't lose, Yugi." And he plays the card.
You know, I'm happy I learned something from this lecture so far because I did not know that there was a literal force that prevented Yami from losing. That's really, it makes it much more interesting.
Well, that's just his personality. Like,
Yeah,
that's his,
so-
like, he will, like,
Oh.
he will go bananas to,
Well-
that's just a personality flaw of his. Like, he will win at any cost, period. No matter
Well, either
what.
way, it's still a pretty cool character trait.
Oh, yeah.
If
So-
if Yami didn't get the Seal of Orichalcos, would he be able to find a way to win?
In this situation, maybe, but probably not. Like, he probably just would have lost the game and nothing would have happened.
Okay, because my question was going to be, is it possible for him to lose ever? And I guess maybe.
Well, he lost against Kaiba, but that's because Kid Yugi took control and stopped him from throwing Kaiba off a building.
Okay, so there's... Oh, okay, yeah, that was him. Okay, so
He will try to win at any cost.
But that, technically, when Kid Yugi takes control, it's not Yami anymore, so this is still
Yeah,
an
like,
open
it
question for
is
me.
still sort of, yeah. It's not... It almost never happens, so it's not very clear, but it's one of those, like, 2 souls, 1 body, and whichever one's not in control just kind of chills on the Millennium Puzzle.
So up to this point, does Yugi like ever really duel himself, or is it always the Pharaoh pretty much?
it's almost always the Pharaoh. Other than one time when oh, that's right. In Battle City, remember Bandit Keith, the American guy?
I remember the word.
He ends up getting mind controlled by Merrick with the Millennium Rod. And under his mind control, he steals the Millennium Puzzle, and Kid Yugi has to duel without help in a burning building.
Cool.
So, anyhow, yeah. So so him playing that card has massive implications. First of all, his legendary dragon immediately abandons him. It just destroys itself, and it refuses to be played for quite some time after that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Kid Yugi is locked inside the Millennium Puzzle, and he can't get out, and he can't even talk to the Pharaoh, because he's, like, trapped in limbo right now, because it's like, he can't be in the circle, but he also can't leave the circle, so he's just stuck in the puzzle.
Well, I thought he was taken by the Serial Voracacos guys.
He's about to be.
I'm sorry,
all that's happened is that Yugi is the one who played the evil card, not the person he was playing against. So Yugi chose to play this card, and as soon as he does, his like sort of darker tendencies start coming out. Like he just starts like mindlessly sacrificing his monsters, like his most precious monsters left and right. He's like, "Oh, these cards are dirt. I'll just use them as cannon fodder to destroy your life points."
Oh, he's literally acting like a villain.
Yeah, he literally just becomes the villain of the episode. And the guy he was playing against is like, "I have the deepest bond ever with my card," because like he was a rich kid with a really good deck he was on an ocean liner, and the whole thing got like shipwrecked. Like his whole family died. Everyone on the boat died. Yeah, he got castawayed.
Castawayed.
But instead of Wilson, he just had his deck of cards,
is this a fan card or a real card?
That's probably a fan card.
No.
But so anyway, he gets castawayed, but instead of a volleyball, he has his deck of cards. And like he starts hallucinating to the point where he can like see the monsters and he's talking to them. But it's probably that they're actually there, because remember, there's the whole other dimension in the spirit realm. And like Yugi talking about like the heart of the cards and stuff, he's got nothing on this guy. I wish I remembered his name. He was just like one of the villains for the organization, but he had like no one on Earth ever had a stronger bond with their cards, and to the point where he was just like talking to them, and like you see them, they're all like water damaged and like beat to hell and like about to like fall in half, and some of them are like taped up.
This isn't the Chaz, is it?
No, that's GX, and I'm not anything beyond the original series. I'm not really going to go into
it. Damn, I was really
because we'd be here for like
Chaz.
8 hours. But anyhow, yeah. So Yugi goes bad guy. Bad guy is good guy. Good guy, like, oh, you throw away all your monsters carelessly, so I'll revive them all and use them all to kill you. And he does. Yugi loses the second duel of the series. And the seal is coming in, and he's about to lose his soul. And with all of his power, invoking, like, full-strength Millennium Puzzle, Kid Yugi breaks through the seal just enough that he swaps out. And Kid Yugi loses his soul instead of the Pharaoh losing his soul. This whole experience messes Yami up like bad, because now he's stuck permanently transformed because Kid Yugi's soul is just gone, and he's like, "Oh God, what have I done? I'm an awful person." Like he ends up going on like a spirit quest through the desert to rediscover himself, and but before that, so there was an interesting set of duels where you remember the bug guy and the dinosaur guy.
Yeah, Weevil and
So the two of them end up teaming up with these new bad guys because they want good cards. So that they're like a laughing stock now that they've lost like 2 or 3 tournaments. And so they team up with these bad guys and get 10,000-year-old ancient Egyptian magic, because despite being like goofy comic relief villains, they want to win bad, and they're just tired of being trash. So they join the organization, and somehow they have enough willpower to accept like the grueling torture of like becoming full of ancient Atlantean magic. And the two of them show up with their own copies of the seal to try and take the Pharaoh's soul and Joey's soul. They have their rematches from season 1.
I just want to point out that guy who gave Yugi the Cerebral Carcass, his name was Raphael.
Raphael, that's right. Raphael is based, dude. He's like one of the best villains in the whole show, because he's like almost a good guy, and he's managed to prove that the Pharaoh's almost a bad guy. Very interesting. They never revisit this later on.
I think I saw some meme of this like duel where they're on the train and it was just like the Japanese.
Yeah, the duel.
The
duel on the train. This is a famous scene. So the duel on the train. So Joey duels against the dinosaur guy, wins, takes his soul, feels bad about it. The Pharaoh, on the other hand, is he's on top of a train dueling against Bug Guy. And Bug Guy's just like, oh, I'm so much better. And he's like teasing him about it. And he's like, hey, you want to see something cool? I got this card with Yugi's soul in it right here.
Oh,
and he's like, hey, give me that card. Give me that card. Give me that card. And he rips it in half. And freaking, like, this, like, literally just, like, mind breaks Yami. Like, at that moment, he's like, I am going to kill this man. I am evil, and you're about to find out.
Do they know what would have happened to his soul? Is there any ambiguity around that?
It turns out it wasn't the real card. It was just like a cheap, like, 2-cent, like, random card that he had in his pocket.
If it had been the real card, would ripping it in half definitely do
actually,
some bad
no.
stuff?
Your soul, they actually have, like, an ancient Atlantean hard drive that's just, like, 8,000 tablets carved into a wall with a picture of each person, so you would have to destroy, like, their ancient temple to destroy the souls.
So, it's worth noting that this is a callback, because all the way in, like, Season 1, Weevil, like, threw away...
He's the one who threw Exodia off the boat. So
destroying
already,
Exodia.
Yeah, he's the one who... Say goodbye to Exodia!
No.
Yeah, so they already
How
have
are
a
the cards
history, and
produced?
freaking the Pharaoh is done with him. Like, he beats him hard. And don't forget, in this, the monsters are real. So he takes the opportunity to use some combo of cards that he can just attack him over and over and over and over and over and draw monster card. like he just attacks him like 18 times. Like, it literally, like, the seal closes, his soul is taken, and his unconscious body, and Yugi is still laying into it, like attacking it and attacking it and attacking it.
Beep 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 beep.
Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
So the cards, how are they like produced? Like the limitation, they're like the cards are like rare or whatever.
You mean in the anime or in real life?
How does that work? No, in the anime. So like, can't they just make more cards, or like, how does that? Are they like magical or something? So
in most
like,
cases, you can make as many of whatever card you want. The company made Industrial Illusions, the company founded by Pegasus, is the one who runs the Duel Monsters card game in universe. And they just produce cards.
They actually.
So it's literally like.
I was gonna say they actually reference that argument in the show where Marowak gives his lackey a fake Winged Dragon of Ra card.
Oh yeah.
And when he uses it, it kills him, or he gets struck with lightning and he goes unconscious or something. So
yeah, he gets struck by lightning.
If you aren't using an official card, then it in the case of the Winged Dragon of Ra, you are punished by divine forces.
Well, that's a special case. It's specifically the 3 god cards. Like, playing a god card, no matter what, will automatically invoke the actual spirit of the actual god of Egypt, and they will strike you down if you use a replica. It has to be one of the real 3 original ones, because at the time Pegasus had a Millennium item when he produced the card. So any fakes would just set him off. This is actually a plot point later in GX where a guy makes a fake copy of one of the god cards, and he has to make a special card just to contain its power so that it doesn't kill him with lightning.
So in the case of the god cards, there's something that
in the case of the god cards
produced by the company to the actual Egyptian magic, but in the case of the other cards, no.
They're all real monsters, but the card itself has no any copy of the Dark Magician can invoke the spirit of the actual Dark Magician if magic is involved. If it's just 2 people playing a regular card game, it's just 2 people playing a regular card game. No magic, no nothing. But
and then
there's a lot of magic involved in this show. So
unlike real life, there are actual rarities that matter.
Yeah, for example, they only ever produced 4 Blue Eyes White Dragons and never anymore, which is why no one else uses it, because it's so rare.
I always thought that was funny that Blue Eyes White Dragon was like hyped up as being really powerful and rare in the show, and then it was just like you go to Target and it's just like
You can just buy one.
Just like the actual card game, the cards get power crept so hard that
their stuff way better than
Is there a
3,000 points.
format that's like limited to the first set where all the cards were garbage?
I mean, you can do that if you want to go back and like manually build your deck. Like they have old copies of ban lists if you want to like play from a certain year, that version of the game.
But specifically the very first set, the Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragons, if you're only using cards from that set, like basically
It's gonna suck,
All
and
of
you
the
won't have
monsters
fun.
are like 1,000 attack. And it's just like
And none have any effects.
Yeah, normal monsters are like 1,000 attack, no effect. So
Like you'll win with a Man-Eater bug.
although it also had like Regeki and all the overpowered magic cards that were
Yeah.
later banned.
Yeah.
So it had terrible
The ancient
monsters
early
and
game.
overpowered magic cards.
Precisely, yeah.
Yep.
Just
Anyway, I
like-
lost my train of thought.
Just
Where were
like
we?
Magic the Gathering,
I think
actually.
we were like about mid
We-
season 4.
He just
Like
he
when
just beat.
Yami was beating Weevil.
He beat the snot out of
Yeah.
Weevil. Okay, so a couple side duels happened. They don't matter. Yugi actually has a rematch against Raphael and beats him, but like both of them play with honor this time, and Yugi's kind of redeemed himself.
He fought the Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
And they end up finding the ancient headquarters of the organization.
which was like hidden underneath like a skyscraper for some reason.
Actually, no, I lied, because before they find that, Joey loses his soul. He ends up losing one of the games he's in, and he loses his soul. So they got that, along with Kid Yugi.
Lol.
So they
There's-
go
I
and
love how there's so much soul losing that happens in this show that you can like.
Oh yeah, it happens
forget
all
that
the time.
going from one plot point to another. Like,
What makes
that
this
guy
card game
lost
so
his
much
soul.
fun? I've got a collection at home of souls.
Yes,
But,
they all empower me.
So they go and they find the headquarters, and it's like an ancient temple that they hid by building like a big skyscraper on top of it. And they go in to fight like the final boss, the head of the organization, who turns out is the like literally the 10,000-year-old prince of Atlantis, who all of this ancient Atlantean magic is because a green glowy meteor from space crashed, and it had all the magic in it, and that's why Atlantis became like the the legendary city of all this technology and stuff, because
Yeah,
they were
the
using like
magic.
actual space energy. And that's also like all of the rules and the soul stealing stuff from the seal comes from that, and summoning the Leviathan comes from that too. The cards are like the modern day manifestation of using that magic. So so they have the big boss fight. It's 2v1, Yugi and Kaiba playing against Darts, the head of the organization, who he has like ludicrously powerful like he keeps playing like additions to the seal to give it extra rings and extra powers. He ends up playing a guy with infinity attack points at one point. Like literally that's what it says on screen. Oh, the thing has infinity attack points. He kills Kaiba. Yugi turns it around by summoning a monster with infinity +1 attack points. I am not joking.
He goes. He gets like double infinity, and it beats infinity.
Yeah, like he
Which
plays a
is-
monster that he plays a combo with an infinite feedback loop that like powers up one of his monsters to infinity attack points, and then he equips more stuff on top of it to give it more of a boost. And technically, I guess that means he wins. So he beats the guy. Despite being evil for 10,000 years, he was just brainwashed as well, and it turns out he's not so bad after all.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
But it doesn't matter because the Leviathan woke up. Because I guess Kaiba's soul was enough to do it. And so the Leviathan wakes up, but the souls of all of their friends are free. And also they finally get the god cards, because the god cards were being stashed in a temple. So Yugi just summons all three god, like, they're not having an actual duel, they're just like playing monsters on their duel discs, and they're manifesting in real life to fight the Leviathan.
So is it this image?
Yeah, those three god cards are each like the size of a city. For reference.
Shit.
This is like freaking Gurren Lagann or some shit.
And not quite. It's not like interplanetary.
Yeah, it's not
but
like the
Leviathan will destroy the world.
But if it
so.
but if it continues at this pace of like power creeping, where it's like you really
Yeah.
like if this were to continue, we'd end up at Gurren Lagann scale.
Pretty much, yeah. That probably happens in some of the later series of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because there's like interdimensional travel and like parallel universes and stuff. I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, so like all 3 God cards and like all of their signature monsters, they summon them all, and all of them together attack the big Leviathan, and they kill it. And when they do that, all Atlantean magic is gone forever. All the people who are under its control are like normal-ish. Darts and his cronies, they're like, you know what? We were such bad people. We want to try and be better to like make up for it. You're never going to see us again for the rest of the series, so bye.
Did they use the
And
God
season 4
cards
ends.
fighting darts or no?
Happy
Like in the
ending,
duel?
yay.
No, he did not get, like, after he beat Darts, he was able to get over the podium where the 3 of them were sitting. So, like, after he beat Darts, but before the Leviathan appeared, he snatched him real quick.
Oh, they had. Wait, when did he lose them?
At the very beginning of the season, they just literally, like, teleported out of his hand.
Oh.
They stole the God cards. At one point, one of them used one of the God cards against him. But having all 3 and also all the souls is the requirement to summon the Leviathan. And for a brief moment, they had all the souls they needed and the 3 God cards. So even though they grabbed all the stuff back, no take-backsies. But it didn't matter because they killed him. So, huzzah! Season 4 is end, and now we're back to the manga finally for the final story arc.
So this was a
Where we
like
actually-
a filler?
This is where I barely know anything.
This was technically
about
all of
this
season 4 was filler, but it was actually good filler.
It wasn't like the freaking Kaiba
wasn't the
dad.
virtual world.
That was garbage. That was
Was
like,
the Isekai subplot?
that's what stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
from-
was awful.
I think that's why I stopped watching the show. Like,
Yeah, if you want to watch the show, Duelist Kingdom is like charming and fun and silly. Duelist Kingdom is like introduces you to like how the show really operates. Season 4 is, and then you got to skip season 3, and then the season 2 finale is cool. Season 4 is just like a fun, interesting side story, and then 5 is like where 100% of the plot happens. So season 5. So they go right back to where season 4. They go to the museum. He presents the 3 God cards, and the Pharaoh, not Yugi or any of his friends, just his soul is sent back in time to ancient Egypt when he was a boy. Or a young man, I guess. Like, he was the prince and his father was the Pharaoh. And he's just kind of like reliving the events of his own life to sort of learn what happened because all his memories are gone. And he gets there, and first of all, there's his dad is the Pharaoh and has the Millennium Puzzle, and he's got a court of like 6 wizards who all have magic power and each has their own Millennium item. One of them happens to look just like Seto Kaiba. One of them just happens to look like Yugi's grandpa. As a matter of fact, Priest Seto is the one with the Millennium Rod back in time. So he had the mind control one. I don't think he ever used it, but this is so cool because you get all the stuff they've been talking about for 5 years. You get to actually see. Like, one of the first things that happens is the Prince of the Thieves, Bakura, shows up and challenges the Pharaoh to a duel. The Pharaoh's like, okay, cool. So he's like, I'm going to send 2 of my wizard assistants to fight you. So Priest Seto and like one other guy, the 2 of them go out, and they've got these things that look kind of like ancient duel discs on their arms.
Yeah.
What?
Like, it's just it looks sort of like a wing of like a bird that you might see in like ancient hieroglyphic carvings. But they've just got this, it literally looks like an ancient Egyptian duel disc. It's really cool. And it just kind of...
Do you know what these are called? If I could, like, look
Oh,
it up.
I don't know. If you look at the page of duel disc, it may say something about it. But, so anyway, they were wearing these things on their arms, and they each have a temple in the city somewhere. And each temple has a bunch of stone slabs. And on each stone slab is the carving of a monster. And they're the actual duel monsters that you've been seeing for the whole game. Like, Priest Seto uses... There you go, one of those.
Yep.
The 3 little eye slots are the 3 slots where your monsters appear. So everyone's wearing those things. And, so, like, Bakura he's stolen the Millennium Ring off of one of... Like, he killed one of the other priests and stole the Millennium Ring. So he's got one item. And he wants revenge because he says the Pharaoh destroyed his city. The Pharaoh's like, what are you talking about? That's nonsense. And the Pharaoh's Yugi's dad right now. Or Yami Yugi's dad. Kid
Yeah.
Yugi and the friends, not in this for like the first half of the season. This is just him like reliving his. So anyway, his dad's like, yeah, I didn't do that. Priest, take him out. So like Priest Edo goes in and he summons like, oh, I summoned the Hitatsumi giant, and like the carving appears on his little dual disc looking thing, and the actual monster just like is in front of him now. And the Thief King Bakura summons some snake looking monster, and the two of them start fighting, and it's almost like a real duel, just like a bit more freeform. Like there's not really turns; they just like summon creatures and attack each other. But it's like you actually get to see them like one guy has the Millennium Scales, which I have no idea what they do for real, but in the context of it, like he activates his Millennium Scale, and it's just like the spell card polymerization. He fuses two monsters together. So all of the spell cards and trap cards that you've seen in the show up to this point are just representations of like people doing real magic with the Millennium items. Think of them like magic wands and your Harry Potter style casting spells. So all the most iconic spells are like, that's real magic that they actually did. So these ancient duels are a lot like modern duels. Just there's not really life points, just your physical health is tied to how much damage your monsters are taking. And eventually you'll just pass out if you lose. So they play. I think the Thief King takes out like one or two of the priests, but he ends up just running away. And Pharaoh's like, wow, that was crazy. What's going on? And he's just like, oh, don't worry about it, son. And he starts living out his like ancient Egypt life. He meets some of the friends he had back in the day. One of them looks just like the Dark Magician girl. And then there's this like, and I don't know. He just kind of like runs around Egypt like looking at stuff, and also the whole time there's this mystery of like, what is the Thief King Bakura talking about? Like the village was destroyed. Turns out it was. His dad, the pharaoh, actually was the one who created the 7 Millennium items, because there was like a prophecy that the kingdom would be destroyed, and he needed like weapons to fight against it. So he created the items. The reason they're so powerful is because he had to sacrifice like 100 humans to like in the process of forging them. So like the Bakura's village was like full of like thieves and murderers and stuff like that. So the pharaoh just had them all like rounded up and executed and like drained their blood to fuel the Millennium items and turn them into ancient artifacts. So turns out, yeah, the Thief King Bakura, yeah, he's killed a lot of people and he's a real asshole, but
So hang on.
But the pharaoh's dad is also a real asshole too.
So how did 4Kids handle this? 4Kids is still doing the anime? The localized?
Yeah, like, they don't show anything graphically on screen, but they very heavily imply that, yeah, it was just a massacre.
They, like, describe it?
Wait, repeat.
You can
what
see,
you
like,
just
the
said.
shadows of people being axed down on the walls.
Cut out in a big way. What did you say?
Oh, sorry, what was the last time you heard from me?
No, like, what you were just explaining, what 4Kids changed.
Oh, yeah, like, they don't expressly say... Like, they didn't say, oh, we killed them all, but they, like, very heavily imply, and you can see... Oh, my gosh. Is my audio cutting out? Okay, no, you
I assume you're saying heavily imply.
Yeah, it's, like, you see, like, oh, the shadow of a guy running away and being, like, stabbed.
Okay.
So...
Being dabbed?
No, not dabbed.
That's what I heard.
Well,
I would much rather be dabbed than...
That's much too graphic.
Yeah, but they did go there. So anyway, so he's sort of like unraveling the mystery the whole time. Some of the priests get into fights with each other. You do get the epic fight between like the pharaoh and Priest Seto, because as it turns out, Priest Seto as it turns out is Yugi's cousin, or not Yugi, but he's the Yami's cousin. Like he's the nephew of the pharaoh. So if he were to ascend, if he could possibly be in the line of ascension to become the next pharaoh, Priest Seto. Priest Seto's dad is also like secretly working with the Thief King and wants to like destroy the kingdom because he wants to be the pharaoh himself. And he thinks the secret is with the Blue Eyes White Dragon, a legendary monster no one's been able to catch and seal into a tablet. But Priest Seto ends up being the one to do that. Like if you defeat a monster in combat, you can seal it into a tablet in your temple, and then it's part of your quote-unquote deck. So that's the lore behind why they have a connection with ancient Egyptian magic, Seto and the Blue Eyes. But, yeah, so they're running around back in time. They solving the mystery of what's going on. And finally, after like 10 or 12 episodes, Kid Yugi and the gang actually show up. They're able to like, get in, but only as like ghosts, where like nobody can see or hear them. So they're just like kind of walking around and like observing what's going on. So you get to see a bit more context. What else happens? Priest Seto's dad actually duels against one of the other priests and kills him. But before he dies, like he's mortally wounded, but before he dies, he goes to the pharaoh and says, "Hey, I'm going to fuse myself together with one of my old monsters so that I can become a dual monster and become a part, and you put me in a tablet into your deck." And he becomes the Dark Magician.
Oh,
Yeah, that's fun.
Wait,
Yeah,
so
yeah, 'cause the
Yugi
whole-
is always playing Seto's dad the whole show?
No. The Seto's dad is the guy who did the killing. The guy who was dying was like Yugi's mentor and like the most powerful wizard in the royal
So
court.
that's like, okay, it's not his dad. It's the guy who died. Okay.
No, but it was like his like, it was like the pharaoh's like adoptive dad, because his real dad is kind of a jerk.
that's
Okay.
really fucking cool. Holy shit.
Yeah, because the whole time he's playing a dude who looks like the Dark Magician, but he's got like a Final Fantasy black mage, like no face. He's just like a generic purple wizard. But then when he fuses, he gets that like purple wizard armor.
So you have
But
his
he has-
friend that's like embodiment of Dark Magician girl and his like future, past. What the
Yeah,
fuck am I
this is
saying?
just fan service. They just like, oh yeah, all of your favorite monsters, they have like connections to like ancient
Yeah,
Egyptian
it's
stuff.
just-
He knew them IRL. in
Exactly.
ancient Egypt.
Because don't
Yeah.
forget, every single monster is a real person/monster. They just live in another dimension.
Even injection fairy lily.
Technically, yes.
So how do like real people go about becoming a playable card?
Oh, he had to use like Millennium Item magic to do it.
Wait. So how do they have? They had syringes and shit in like the ancient Egypt.
Okay, maybe Pegasus took some creative liberties. I don't know.
So this is Pegasus is doing. He's into giant.
Yeah, some of the
syringes.
weirder monsters might not be real.
Yeah,
And
you
presumably, if
might
if
be
you
able to
played
play
them,
the card,
they
but
wouldn't
not
be
get
real
it.
monsters.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
not
Pegasus
get their
creates some of
soul.
his own cards.
Or maybe they like become real as he makes them, because he did have like ancient Egyptian magic when he was drawing all the cards.
So
for
I
the game.
started to search injection fairy lily, and the first suggestion was injection fairy lily tattoo.
Okay.
It's not even that good of a card.
I
Come
know.
on.
It's just like
So anyway, to get this wrapped up, Ancient Egypt arc. So Yugi's friends are there. They're non-corporeal. No one can see or hear them except for this one like stupid comic relief character who's just like a big fat guy who like steals bread from the market. But by collecting like half of the Millennium items, Thief King Bakura takes his like weird snake creature and beefs it up into like the ultimate agent of destruction, Zork, the Lord of Darkness,
That's the only thing I know. It's Zork.
which is a giant monster with a snake dick.
Yeah, I know that one.
If you ever see a picture of it, like it just straight up, like I don't know how that got past the censors. Like,
okay, I see
oh my
an image
god!
of like,
So they're playing against it. It's almost an.
it's like
he's-
pissing on Blue Eyes with a laser.
Yeah, it's really big. Like Yugi as part of the royal family has access to the 3 like actual god cards in the tablets, and so he summons all 3 god cards at once.
So it's like pissing on him. It's like, what the fuck?
Oh, they're having one of those Harry Potter
Beam battle, yeah.
The beam battles.
But it's
Oh,
coming
God.
out of his dick.
Man,
So
poor
they have a
kids.
lot of epic battles. Freaking Yugi plays all 3 god cards at once, and they fight, and they lose, but barely. To that thing.
Oh god.
Unbelievable.
Well, the god cards.
lost to that.
So the god cards are down, and Yugi's unconscious. So the guy who looks like the guy who looks like Yugi's grandpa, who's just like one of the royal magicians, he actually summons Exodia, which is the best callback ever because Exodia is like, that's Yugi's grandpa's big card. So he plays Exodia, and Exodia and this guy have like a giant kaiju battle for a few minutes, and it's awesome.
Wow. Oh,
But
God.
Exodia dies
I
to
can't
this thing
believe
too,
what I
and
missed. Holy shit.
yeah, season 5 was so cool.
Why didn't they just start out with this shit? Damn.
Yeah, I'm
Because you
gonna
wouldn't
say-
care about like oh, well, who's Exodia? I don't care who that is, unless you've seen it a bunch of times. So,
Like, they should have just skipped season 4 and just went straight to this.
I mean,
well, I mean, you can't.
Season 3 is what made me drop it. Like, that's like the...
Yeah, season 3 is trash. The rest is pretty good. And anyway, so Exodia gets knocked down. The priest who looks like Yugi's grandpa is like out of commission now, and Exodia's like split into. He loses the battle, and he gets both of his arms and both of his legs knocked off.
Wait. Okay,
so he's split into 5 pieces.
I have a question.
Yes.
And I'm probably going to sound like a total asshole, but I just want to make sure. Everything that you've been talking about since referring to the ancient Egyptian ancestors, has this all been just like a flashback, or is this like literally
I will explain in a
happening?
moment.
Okay.
Because this whole arc is known as the Memory World. So this is him reliving the memories of his past.
Okay.
So like all of this did happen for real, but he's like experiencing it again so that he can like remember it.
Okay.
Because the whole thing is like the ultimate thing he wants is his name, because he'd be able to like he can't be set to rest without knowing his name, and he doesn't know it. Like the whole time they just call him like the Pharaoh or Yami. He doesn't have a name, and
Where
it's
did
not
they get
revealed
Yami
till
from?
Yami's just like the Japanese word for darkness.
Yeah.
So he's like Dark Yugi because he's a bit
That's kind of
meaner.
mean. A little bit.
So yeah, but
A little racist.
Dark Magician's known as Black Magician in Japan, so even though he's purple. But
I was gonna. Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
anyhow, so they're having the big battle. And here's, I think it's somewhere, I think somewhere in here is where there's a big reveal that this whole thing with the memory world is actually a Season 0 styled shadow game being played between Bakura and Yugi, like in modern times. What happened is that all of ancient Egypt is a giant board game. And they have inserted they have inserted themselves as themselves, like they have little game pieces of themselves in the game, and they're playing as themselves just so that they can they really are reliving the events. It's just that it's happening in the form of a game. So technically speaking, so the Pharaoh,
This just really came
so
out
like
of nowhere.
Pharaoh Yugi is in ancient Egypt reliving his life, but at the same time he's also sitting like at a table with Bakura, and they're just watching everything happen.
Is this
But-
why everyone looks exactly the same?
Partially, yeah.
Okay.
Also,
that
just
makes a
in
little more
actual
sense, at
ancient
least.
history, they did look like everything that happens in this game did happen for real. This is just like an extra layer of framing device.
Hold up. Okay, so they're in real life, in the real normal world, their bodies are sitting around
Present
the
day.
table playing a board game.
Just the two of them, yes.
But they're having some basically like psychedelic trip kind of thing where they're
Not really.
reliving-
They've essentially copied themselves into the game pieces that look like them, and they're doing a historical reenactment.
Okay, but the historical reenactment
Is 100%
the events in the
accurate.
board game correspond to events in real life, and
Yes,
they
pretty much
happened a billion
1-to-1.
years ago, and they are not really experiencing the board game. They're experiencing like the memories.
Precisely. They pretty much like copied themselves, like made a copy of themselves in the game. So
Okay,
Wait,
It's-
so where's the
it's
board
so
game
weird,
happening?
why?
just in some room.
This is in the past?
She's
But
at
they've
your
been there
local
for
tabletop
days,
game
so-
shop, dude.
Yuicha in the first place. Wasn't Yugi like at the museum?
Yeah, they're like I think it's just some room in the museum. They've been just doing this for days.
Did
Like,
they
okay.
even go to the bathroom?
But I don't know the technical
they did.
difference. Like it's a little
They did.
vague.
So is
Yami
there
will-
anything,
I never.
is there
Yami will
anything
do
relevant
anything
to the
to
real world
win.
going on? Like, is this important? Like, what happened?
Oh yeah, because if Bakura wins, he's going to take all the Millennium items and probably just kill everyone. And if Yugi wins, he gets his memories back, and by extension his name, and he's also going to get all of the Millennium. Like this is the big game for whoever wins this between the two of them gets all the items.
But in real life,
All
they're
of
just
them.
sort of in a museum.
Yeah.
Bakura's put people in the game magic has been going on this whole time.
Wait, so is this an opportunity for Bakura to change history via board game?
From what I understand, they can make very, very tiny adjustments.
But he wants to win,
Barely.
right? He wants to win, but it already happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I
exactly.
think it's until the final battle rolled around, they couldn't change much of anything.
I think it's like a fate thing. Like
it's
they
like
don't know the events.
Like this
but
is somehow linked to actual history. Like they could theoretically change real history a little bit.
Okay, that's kind of.
From what I understand, it's a lot better explained in the manga, and I never read those chapters. Like it makes a perfect sense if you read the manga because they like tell you from the get go. Oh yeah, they're playing a game where they reenact history versus they just throw you in there in the anime.
Oh yeah, they said like this happens better in the manga.
Yeah, like it makes more sense. I mean, one of these days, that's on my to-do list, is go back and actually read those chapters just so I get what's going on better.
So,
but anyway,
is this
now that the final battle is rolled around, all rules are out the window. Do whatever you want. Summon as many monsters as you possibly can. Yugi, he uses magic to actually make corporeal all of his friends who've just been like phantoms walking around. So like Tristan and Taya and Joey and I think even good Bakura and Seto Kaiba, like not pre-Seto but Seto Kaiba, all of them like are now in ancient Egypt, like physically for real, able to interact with the game. I think that's what Yugi's play to win, is bring his friends in. And that's how he's going to win. Because now, while the God cards are down and while Exodia's down, they summon like Dragon Master Knight, and which is like the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and also Yugi's a knight riding it. So like they, yeah. So they like Kid Yugi. So they they're battling again. So they're able to hold off Zork until Pharaoh Yugi is able to recover and revive the God cards, and all of them together make like a big joint attack, and they beat Zork and win the game. The evil spirit within Bakura's ring is destroyed forever. Whoa. Sort of like when they destroyed the evil spirit in Merrick's Millennium Rod. Like the evil spirit of Bakura is gone, and Bakura is just now some kid who happens to go to school with them. And now they've got most of the Millennium items. And now it's time for the finale of the series, other than the movies. I'm not going to bother with them. But
yeah, movies.
So it's time for the final showdown, because it's time to be. Oh, and I won't tell you the Pharaoh's name, but he does learn it at the very end of this.
Yeah, I know who it is.
Yeah, don't say it. It's not really a spoiler, but it's fun. it's fun. It's fun not to know, because it's just like plain and boring. But anyway, so it's time for the final battle. They want to lay the Pharaoh to rest so he can be at peace and be with all of his ancient Egyptian friends in the afterlife. Shadi, the guy with the Millennium Key, shows up, and he's like, okay, here you go. Here's my key. Here's the last item. And now I'm going to explain to you how to put the Pharaoh to rest forever. So they have to go to this temple, and they take a plane. They fly to actual Egypt. After all this shenanigans, Kaiba's finally convinced that magic is real. And he had to meet his ancient Egyptian priest alternate ego in order to believe this was all real. But he finally does. And now he's like, oh wow, these guys are way cooler than I thought. Let's go watch the final. Also, he wants to watch the final duel, because now that he understands that Yugi and the Pharaoh, he's the only one who didn't know that they were two different people. So now that he knows that, he's like, okay, so really this Pharaoh is the person I've been dueling this whole time, and he's about to disappear forever. If I can't play against him, I at least want to watch his final game. So they go to this, they hop on a plane and they fly to actual Egypt in modern day, in just an old tomb. And Shadi takes him down, and there's this sarcophagus there with slots on them for the 7 Millennium items. And they go ahead, they insert all the items, and for the first time in the show, Kid Yugi and Pharaoh Yugi split into two real physical people. So the two of them are both standing there. You can finally see the two of them apart from each other. And the ritual is, okay, we have one chance to do this, because otherwise you'll have to wait another 200 years. The two of you are going to have to duel. Even though the Pharaoh, because of your nature, you must attempt to win all games, even though you have to try to win and still lose to Kid Yugi in order to be able to be put to rest. So he has to give it his all, even though it's bad for him in this case. Partially because of his nature, he's going to try, and partially just because that's part of the ritual. So he has to play, and he has to lose. And he can't lose on purpose. He has to give it his all. So the two of them have a 5-episode long game, and it's great. Kid Yugi, in the last season or two, he's actually built a deck of his own that has nothing to do with the main deck. No Dark Magician, no God cards.
Oh wow!
None of that. He has his own. He has his own separate deck that's actually pretty good. Like, he's probably at least as good as Joey. So, anyhow, so they're having their final duel, and it's great. Kid Yugi is able to beat. Also, like, all of the most iconic signature monsters of Yugi's are divided equally among the two of them. Like, Kid Yugi has, like, Gaia the Dragon Knight and the what's his name? The Summoned Skull and some of those.
Who has Karibo?
And Karibo. And
Yes.
Pharaoh Yugi has the Dark Magician related stuff.
Karibo. So we can know like what parts like Yami, what parts Yugi like of the original Yugi deck, sort of like
Exactly. It's really cool. You get to like his deck's like pretty cleanly divided, other than the fact that the Pharaoh has all 3 God cards and the Dark Magician. And Kid Yugi has like all the other weird stuff, but and a few extra additions of his own, like the green gadget and the red gadget and like the gadget fortress, like these little gear monsters that like build a big monster. It's cool. He's got his own deck and style.
You mean like Alpha the Magnet Warrior, or is that something?
Oh yeah, he also has all the Magnet Warriors. In fact, there's a hilarious scene where Kid Yugi, at one point, like by the end of episode 1, Pharaoh Yugi has summoned all 3 God cards on the field at the same time.
Okay.
Like he's got all 3 of them out at once at full power. Kid Yugi beats all 3 God cards in one turn with the Magnet
Yugi,
Warriors.
Don't go.
What?
Oh, it's so cool. Yeah, like he like fuses them into Valkyrin and like unfuses them and refuses them and uses a couple of trap cards to like redirect attacks and like force the God cards to attack each other and stuff. Oh, it's so cool.
What the fuck?
And then after all 3 God cards are dead, Pharaoh Yugi's like, okay, the real duel begins now, and he starts like going ham with like Dark Magician combos, and Kid Yugi's retaliating with like cool stuff you've never seen, and he has a couple of his own new signature monsters, like this dragon that shoots laser beams
Out of its dick.
and they have a game, and Kid Yugi does indeed beat the Pharaoh, and
Shocker.
so he wins, and Shadi's like, okay, the ritual is complete, time to say goodbye. Big door opens to the afterlife. And the Pharaoh's like, all right, guys,
Ooh,
see
I'm
you
trying to
later.
sneak in with him.
wait, so Yugi won or he lost?
If the door's open, man.
Wait, who won?
Doors open, boys.
The
Kid Yugi beat the
won.
Pharaoh,
Okay,
which
yeah,
means
that's
that
what I expect. Okay, that's fine.
which means that the Pharaoh is allowed to be dead.
Oh.
Just think, if the Pharaoh had won, we could have had 200 more years of Yu-Gi-Oh. But,
No, I think you'd be like,
we still have 200 more years.
fair enough.
So I just
But,
realized this season is like so much longer than the other seasons.
Oh, season 5?
Yeah.
Yeah,
terms
well,
of
that's partially
episode count?
because it's because like 6 episodes are just like set up, and 6 episodes are just the final battle.
It's 40 episodes or 39.
Yeah, there's some cool. The whole show is probably maybe like 100 some episodes total.
But it looks like the first 10 are
Yep,
like
I know.
all
Rebecca.
filler.
Goofing around in ancient Egypt.
No, it's like
From what I
it's like
saw-
a tournament thingy with like
Oh, yeah, there's like a 10
Indeed, the
episode
Pharaoh
mini
is
tournament
on
arc
it.
I skipped because it literally makes no difference.
yeah, I can
Like,
tell.
Kaiba just has another tournament and nothing important happens. But
I think it's
there's
actually
some
like
fun
200
duels,
something,
but that's
so-
it's like it's the last time you see like dueling proper.
That's where I got
in the
distracted
in the show,
and saw Injection Fairy Lily. I saw Rebecca versus Vivian. 2 cute
Oh
girls.
yeah, it's the C-list cast going at it. Oh boy.
Yeah, like completely irrelevant characters, and it's like the title of the episode. So I clicked.
Yeah, Kid Yugi's girlfriend is this girl who's the daughter of one of Yugi's grandpa's like archaeologist friends, and she's like their smart computer person.
Wait, so it's not Taya?
That's the silent.
Taya had a thing for the Pharaoh Yugi.
Oh, that makes more
Like-
sense. Now it makes sense because she's like,
And she
embodying
was
the
really
definition
like she's
girl.
really sad when the show ends and he's gone because she doesn't care about Kid Yugi.
Wow.
That's like the one detail I remember from watching the show as a kid.
Yeah, she's like, oh, Yugi's such a loser wimp, but sometimes he turns into a badass, and that's hot.
Wow, what a bitch. That's like,
Yeah.
Black pilled again.
yeah, like we're totally
So-
black after that. It's like
Anyhow, so he walks into the afterlife, and they're like, okay, it's done, and Shadi's like, we gotta get out of here like right now, and they're like, okay, and they run out, and as they're running out, the entire temple just like collapses in the ground. All 7 Millennium items and all 3 God cards are gone forever. So like So there is no more magic whatever left. We're just back to normal people playing trading cards from now on. Other than all the spin-offs.
Oh yeah.
So, but that is not a story for today.
Card games on motorcycles.
Yeah, win Kuribo.
Unironically, the one with the motorcycles is the second best out of the various series. It's actually good. Like, the rest are trash.
What's the end game for all the characters you got? What does regular Yugi do afterwards?
Technically speaking, he is still the world champion duelist, so he just goes on to become a professional duelist.
He passes on Kuribo to Jaden, the protagonist.
Yeah, he gives
of the
Kuribo
next
to
series.
Who's Jaden? This is like the temple collapses and them.
Yeah, at least you guys some confidence.
And them leaving happens in the last 2 minutes of the final episode. So like there is no what happened to all our characters after this, other than in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. You hear some of their characters occasionally mention things that happen
Kuribo like carries on to the next season.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, the new main character. We do know
Kuribo.
a couple things.
The new main character
Yu-Gi-Oh!
has like a tribal deck with Kuribo, and he does crazy Kuribo stuff, and that's
like
his whole
superhero
Well, I
themed.
should Kuribo was one of my favorite cards. I should have known about that.
Yeah, put that far in the future.
We know from GX that after the events of this, regular Kid Yugi went on to become the world champion, like undefeated still.
Okay.
So he's still just like he picked up a lot of dueling tricks from being fused with the Pharaoh. So like he's still the world champion to this day, and he's known as like the most legendary duelist that ever lived.
So does Kaiba
even
just
in later
keep
series
monetizing sick dueling gear? Is that his end game?
Yeah, up through like the 5th series. No, the 4th series. I'm pretty sure he's like Kaiba Corp is still the main manufacturer of like dueling hologram technology, and eventually they get to the point where they can make like, the holograms are like solid objects you can like interact with now.
What?
By the 5th series.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay,
Which has all been
what
the
happens to
first-
Joey? What's he
The
do?
first
Just
series.
side
I
character.
don't know if you hear much of anything else about him other than like there's occasional mentions of a very famous duelist with a Red Eyes Black Dragon deck.
Okay.
All the other characters, no one really cares. They don't go on to do anything. Other than Pegasus, he shows up a bunch. He actually makes a couple cameos in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Oh, that's the whole thing. You know how Yu-Gi-Oh! GX is like Yu-Gi-Oh! School Academy.
Yep.
That whole thing is run by Kaiba
Pegasus.
Corp.
Oh yeah, by Seto Kaiba.
Seto Kaiba and Kaiba Corp started a dueling academy, and he owns the Duel Academy from GX, where
That is very
students go to
odd.
learn to duel.
So GX
Can't
is
believe they need
like
a
They
canonically
still
what
are
occurs
making
after.
Yeah,
new fucking
Yu-Gi-Oh!
shows.
Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and 5Ds, the third one with the motorcycles, all take place in the same universe. The fourth one, Zexal, is a different universe that doesn't operate by the same rules.
Dude, holy shit, there's so fucking many.
The 5th series, Arc 5 is weird because it plays around with like parallel universes and like time travel. Like they pull in characters from the various other series, but like not the same versions of them. They're like alternate universe versions where, what if this character never existed? What would the other secondary characters in their show be like? And they pull those people in as like people to duel in the 5th series. The 6th one is something to do with hackers, I guess.
Have you seen all of them?
No.
That's like so much.
I watched snippets of like big moments from the other ones just so I know what's going on.
See, I'm
And
just
a
looking
couple
like-
months ago they announced Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, which is the 7th
Ds,
series.
7 E's after 5 D's, or I don't know. It's just like
5Ds with the third one.
yeah. What's
Arc 5
what
was
is
the
the
fifth
D's? Like, what's that even stand for?
Oh,
is cool.
Duel,
Five
like,
five dragons. There was like 5 mythical dragons in that show that the motorcycle guys
okay,
had. There's
now
5
I
guys on
remember.
motorcycles and they
Yeah, the signers.
the 5 signers. But that's a whole nother story.
So the first season's
Yeah.
like 20 episodes, but like the rest of the show is like 220 episodes. So I feel like the 80% of the 80-20 rule is season 1, and then and then the rest of the series is just 10 times the episodes for like
Like if you wanted to
half
get the
the
full
val-
experience, you could just watch seasons 1, 2, and 5.
1, 2.
Skip the virtual world, skip the whole Atlantis arc.
What's a total episode count of 1, 2, and 5, or roughly?
Oh, I don't know.
that's gonna
like
be at least
50.
that's gonna be like 100, man. That's like
Okay.
There's 40 in season 5. I'm looking, and season 1's
by
like
the-
25, so it's at least.
I'll just
65.
watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged again.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good way to go.
That's all I know about Yu-Gi-Oh!
If you want to get the
Yu-Gi-Oh!
gist. But if you're interested in like the mechanical, watching the combos people pull off, then that's
Yeah, most of the fights are like Yami assembling
some crazy
combos.
clutch strategy to win at the last second and just completely dismantled it. Like,
Or like an infinite
my-
combo.
yeah,
And I'm
infinite
still
comp,
mad about Taya like shitting on regular Yugi and then ditching him. I'm triggered about that. I didn't know about that.
You know,
Even
there's an
after
episode
he's
where
world champion duelist years
there's
later.
an episode
still
where
not
Kid
enough.
Yugi turns
Yeah.
into the Pharaoh just because Taya wants to go on a date with the
Oh,
Pharaoh.
dude,
Yeah,
fuck
I
that.
know that
Dude,
episode.
That's the kind of filler I need. Let me know what episode that is.
And like some guy like challenged him to a game of DDR, and he went into full like I must win all games.
I saw
mode.
that episode. I've seen this. I forget what episode that was, but I remember I've seen that because I remember the DDR shit. But that was
Yeah.
that was pre-season 2, wasn't it? Or it was middle of the.
Yeah, that was like in between season 1
because
and
that-
season 2.
Yeah, there was a little bit. Of,
That's in the first show.
yeah, there was a tiny bit of.
I wonder, is it like, was it owned by Konami then? So like,
Oh,
was it
conspiracy.
like actual canon DDR?
No, it was just like
I
a
wonder-
DDR style game.
Is there
Okay.
not like a
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Chibi spin-off where it's just like silly, like haha, Yami has to win all games like thing?
I don't think they ever did anything like that. They always like
I'm very surprised.
as the series went on, they like took the duels like more and more important because the fate of the world is at stake, not just the fate of some guy's grandpa. Like, oh, the world will be destroyed if we lose this game, so don't lose. Or oh, these people will lose their souls, so don't lose. The stakes become higher and people take it more
Wait,
seriously.
for shifting, did
season 2
Joey
on.
and Mai end up together, or is she just like, fuck you, you don't have money?
No, in season 4, like she wanted to be independent. I don't need no man type.
Oh,
But she ended up
Isn't she like way older?
she ended
than
up
him?
falling for one of the like the biker gang Atlantis guys,
oh,
which is
random.
That sucks.
yeah, but the both of them ended up losing. No, you know what it was? They had a moment like they hinted that it could happen in the future, but like she doesn't show up in season 5 at all. So
Oh, so she just disappears.
like most of her character development actually happens in the season 4 filler arc. But
Oh, now that makes it
like
really tight.
she's way more of a character in the anime than in the manga. Like the manga, she's like season 1 and a little bit of 2 and not anything else.
Oh, it's just
But,
a total side character.
Yeah, but in season 4, like you know what happens is so it's this like punk Australian motorcycle riding guy in the Atlantis crew duels against Joey, and Joey wins, so Atlantis guy loses soul. But Mai was dating him because she joined the organization because he talked her into it, and she gets mad and she duels Joey, and Joey is not willing to like win, so he just like refuses a duel, and she ends up beating him, and that's how he lost his soul, was to Mai.
Aw.
Because she's like, I really like you, like a lot. and
Total
I'm not
simp
gonna,
move.
yeah.
Lose your soul to the girl that
Come on, Joey. You underplayed yourself there.
But there was one time where she was almost kidnapped by like a ninja who wanted to marry her, like for
Yep,
an arranged
I know
marriage,
that.
and Joey saved her from that.
Oh no, it's
So-
the simp arc. Just like, and
Like
she-
that just happened as a side episode. Like
she
this movie
continuously
star
saves her
ninja
and
was
she
like,
never. I'm being like super black pill about Yu-Gi-Oh. This is funny.
yeah, like no one ends up
then-
together by the end of the show canonically.
Buy
But
black pills
there's some
anywhere you look.
there's some hints about like like Mai and Joey may someday, or Kid Yugi and Rebecca may.
Kaiba and Blue Eyes White Dragon definitely
Already have.
It's like
Blue
Oh, yeah.
pilled white dragon.
Oh,
yeah, blue. Let's just all blue pill. Let's just blue pill. Let's all get a Blue Eyes White Dragon, and that's
He's
where.
very
yeah.
into blue eyes.
Yeah, I was too.
I mean, it wouldn't be hard.
Awesome
They've reprinted that
concept.
card so many times.
Yeah, I do have like a Blue Eyes Shining Dragon somewhere.
Oh, the
Yeah,
movie.
that movie.
That was from the movie. I remember that card.
So there are 3 Yu-Gi-Oh movies, which I won't get into details. One of them is Anubis, who he had like an anti-millennium puzzle he's revived accidentally like a few years after Yugi wins the God cards. Before, like, this is like a season between seasons like 2 and 4, like before Ancient Egypt but after Battle City. So he's got the 3 God cards, and this Anubis guy duels Kaiba and then duels Yugi, and whatever. Nothing important happens. The second movie was this weird tie-in between the original series and Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, where a time-traveling guy challenges the 3 main characters to a duel 3-on-1. It's actually pretty cool because you get to see like by 5Ds they've got like new card types that didn't exist before, and Yugi's like, oh, what's that? That's cool. I want one of those.
Got a synchro summon, my dude.
Yeah, it's freaking yeah, you've got like the Dark Magician and Elemental Hero, Neos and Stardust Dragon, Synchro Summon, like all of them on the field all at once. And this guy's making like evil versions of like, oh, this is the evil Blue Eyes White Dragon, and the evil Red Eyes Black Dragon, and the evil Stardust like he used to take any dragon and make it evil. That was his gimmick. So
yep.
all of the cards included with that movie were garbage. Like all the movies had promo cards of all the real stuff, which is why all these like big powerful things, they're just all over the place. Because they were just, you go to the movie, you get a pack of cards that's just 5 cards from the movie. So there's a bunch of those out there.
But I guess I somehow got my hands on a promo card. This card is now even more worthless than I thought it was.
But it looks cool, and that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's like it has the whatever the shiny effect is on it.
Oh yeah, there's like 18 different types of rarities and all that. Because transitioning out of the well, before I do, any questions about like the original series show before we move on?
It's about the you forgot there was a third one, right?
Third one, what?
Third movie. That
oh yeah, there was a third movie. Came out like 2 years ago. It's just Kaiba has such a hard-on for beating Yugi in a duel. He goes to that ancient temple that collapsed in the ground, digs up the Millennium Puzzle and the 3 God cards, hands him to Kid Yugi and is like, duel me. I have to beat him. And for a brief moment, the Pharaoh comes back for like a minute and just wipes the floor with Kaiba.
What the
and
fuck?
Kaiba's like... And Kaiba's like, well, oops.
Wait,
that was worthwhile.
How did they make that
How
a movie?
disrespectful.
Yeah.
No, like Kid Doogie, Kid Yugi, Doogie. Kid Yugi duels him for like an hour, and he's doing good, but he's about to lose, and then the Pharaoh comes in and just like pulls a bullshit MacGuffin card out of nowhere and just wins in one turn.
Well, that's why Kaiba can't win, because the Pharaoh keeps fucking cheating.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that is actual like ancient Egyptian magic to just like materialize the perfect card for the situation.
So what if like Kaiba's actual Yugi is like is Yugi's real counter, but Pharaoh beats Kaiba and it's rock paper scissors, and Yugi beats Pharaoh, Pharaoh beats Kaiba.
There you go.
I mean, the math adds up there.
So the only reason Yugi actually beat Kaiba was because Pharaoh pulled out his ass like every time.
At this rate, Yugi will never
canonically,
lose the king of games.
Yeah, canonically, from the rest of the series onwards, Yugi was undefeated. Like, from the end of the original show, from that point on, he never lost a game ever again.
I mean, when you beat all 3 Egyptian gods with Magnet Warrior,
Yeah.
I think you can probably beat most other duels.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's the whole show, and that's pretty much everything that happens.
Yeah.
Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun.
Like, there was a couple, like, 3 episode filler arcs, but who cares about that?
Oh, man.
So
Well, I'm educated.
Yeah, I feel.
Oh,
good
yes.
already.
I didn't know
That
what to
was
expect, but I
one
learned
piece of
I
people's
learned a
childhood.
lot.
Just done like that.
Oh, yes.
Down the drain.
And because of all this nostalgia, I'll make this a quick, like, 5-minute aside, but I actually, a few years ago, I'd say maybe 2012 to 2015, I actually got back into playing the card game, like,
Oh, man.
Nice.
at a high level. Like, me and like 20 other guys at my school, we all met up, like, every single day and played.
That's cool.
It was
Yep. You
I'd say
keep
interesting,
nostalgia alive.
like Like, the game has nothing to do with the show. Like, if you're like, oh, the show was so cool, I want to play the game. Don't. Like, it's so incredibly different.
It's just a super crazy combo card game, right? Like,
yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like all like
pretty much, yeah.
Just
instantly
all magic
winning
powers.
in a couple turns.
It's very pay to play as well. Like, you just, whatever the new archetype is from the newest pack,
That's most
if you
card
have
games.
it, you win.
Well, but then
Well,
you still have to
like-
play tournaments and play people playing the same decks. I mean, I don't know how much skill based it is though, because Pokemon.
I went to a single regional once, just for fun. All of us in our crew, we went, because there was one not too far from us. I didn't stay through the whole thing because I was bored, because it took like 3 hours for every round. Just for like the judges to do their thing, and there was like 150 people playing, and
I mean, if you're gonna, I mean, so you didn't work that into it if you only went to one tournament, like.
well, I mean, like I had like
Get gate kept, Eric.
yeah,
Nice
I had like I don't know, I had barely like $500 worth of cards,
Yeah. I mean,
and I wasn't even good. Like I was one of the like 3 or 4 guys who played like goofy gimmicky decks, just for fun, but.
okay, I'm being
I
too
will say-
try-hard gamer because like I was always like play to win, play the best stuff, like actually try and place like this. So it was like, but this is, I mean, I didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh! I played Pokemon, but it's a different game.
Yeah.
Pokemon's pretty crazy at competitive level too.
Yeah.
It actually is.
Pokemon's
It's
a
it's
cool
very
card
it's
game.
very like steady turn-based. Like you play out the game is pretty like it doesn't blow up usually. It's like you're trying to play every turn well, kind of get good percentages on every single turn. So it's like it's not
Yeah,
like
competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like, you can tell by your opening hand who won the game.
yeah,
Yeah.
Pokemon
Because
you,
the combos are just that ridiculous.
and
But-
Pokemon you obviously have like luck things that can happen. That can happen in any card game, but there was like a good because every like turn you could play so differently because of draw cards. There was so much shuffle draw and what order you played, what you discarded. There was a lot of
Yeah.
like optimizations to like play better, even on games you won and did the right thing. You could have done it slightly better. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah. The Yu-Gi-Oh! was just the fact that when there was like a whole bunch of us playing it, that, and we each had like 2 or 3 different decks and just doing matches against each other.
Yeah.
It was just kind of what our group did for fun for a few years. So good times.
Until you all lost interest.
But Konami has ruined it forever because so from 5Ds onwards, they introduce a new type of card every single new series. And each one became increasingly more like gimmicky and convoluted, like Synchro Monsters. It's not too far off from like Fusion Monsters, we understand that. Then the next one they had Xyz Monsters, and it's like weird like stacking cards on top of each other, and we're like, what the hell? And then the next one they're like, oh, it's a Pendulum Monster. This one, the top half of it is a monster, and the bottom half is a spell card, and we've redesigned the mat with new zones on it. And as of a couple of years ago, they had a new card type that like literally they rewrote the rule book from the ground up, and it doesn't have anything to do with the way it used to be, just to accompany these new cards. Like
That's
it's like,
stupid.
oh, we don't have levels on them. There's arrows pointing out in different directions, and if you get 2 cards that point towards each other, they get like a power boost or something.
What?
Yeah, it's so weird.
keep
I
it
don't
simple.
know.
But for now, we
It's
can
simple.
just enjoy the nostalgia of the first series of Yu-Gi-Oh! And everything was
Yes, and if you
perfectly
want to,
convoluted enough to understand and still be cool.
if you want to play Yu-Gi-Oh for fun, just like get a pile of your old cards from back in the day, throw together some decks of like crappy cards, and just goof around and have fun.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Pretend there's no ban list out there. Pretend there's no Konami because they've ruined the game.
Yeah, even after having learned all of this, I think looking back on my childhood and just how I have I think it's a Thousand Dragon. Like,
Oh, the
figurine,
Thousand Dragon!
And I think that's all I needed.
Is that old dude? Is that
I'm
the
really
old
glad.
dude dragon? Where he's
Yeah,
like
that
2,400
Dragon
attack.
is a time wizard.
Baby Dragon and the Time Wizard.
Yes, the
Yeah.
combo.
Oh yeah.
Except
I
for in the
saw
show,
that
it
in
wasn't a
episode,
fusion.
like,
It was
6 or
like
whatever, and I was like, oh,
turn the time. But they had to turn it into a fusion monster because it's like
That's the closest they could make it
Yeah.
following the real rules. Because back in, 2002, they wanted to make the cards have anything to do with the rules of the game. They don't care about that now.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you can just summon 15 monsters per turn, and each one has like 18 different effects, and
Like-
it doesn't actually have anything to do with like drawing cards and playing cards and attacking.
everything's special summoning
Exactly.
infinitely, and it's terrible.
Like, I don't know the last time someone tribute summoned something.
Yeah.
And they wondered why no one played the legal god cards when they came out. They nerfed him, and then you still had to tribute 3. And that was the only way to play him.
Anyway.
All right. Well,
I think we're like wrapping up. Huh?
Yeah.
This was really good. Friggin', you did a really good job.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you all
Learned
enjoyed.
things.
I feel
definitely
like I
know
knew
the stuff.
everything I need to know.
If this were the not episode 1 of the show, this would be the part where we looked at like comments or whatever from the last episode. But if you're watching
The
this and
one
you enjoy,
comment.
We're getting a PO box,
I don't think we're
guys.
gonna get any comments.
We gotta get the PO box, the
Get a little ahead of
Patreon
yourself.
stuff.
yeah, mail us a letter.
voice
Come on,
Zero
guys.
comments. We'll read the blank. We'll read the title of the comment box that says write
Post
your
your comment here. Yeah.
So replying to the post your comment here by the site that's the comment box.
Anyway, if you're watching this at home, leave comments below, and if they're interesting, we'll read them on the next episode, and we'll have a whole segment about that. But until
At
then,
the end.
I've been that friggin' guy. This has been the Crash Content Podcast. I can't even talk.
Podcast.
The Crash Content
Yeah.
Podcast.
Wow, you really crashed into that.
The Crash Content Podcast. And we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.